My boyfriend wants me to stop my medication, but I'm not risking my sanity for his comfort. I, 22F, have been with my boyfriend, 29M, for 3 years. And for most of that time, I truly believed we were solid, connected, loving, and supportive. He was the first person I ever really opened up to, especially about my struggles with my mental health. I was 15 when I first started therapy, and after nearly 7 years of cycling through doctors, symptoms, and breakdowns, I finally got a diagnosis, bipolar 2. Getting that diagnosis was like having the world finally click into place. It explained everything, the racing thoughts, the sleepless nights filled with projects and ideas, and then the weeks I couldn't get out of bed or take a shower. With a proper diagnosis came treatment. It wasn't instant, God, it wasn't. The meds were trial and error for months. Some made me gain weight. Some made me nauseous. One made me feel like I was watching life from underwater. But eventually, we found the right combination, a mood stabilizer and an antidepressant that finally gave me balance. That's when things started to shift. My boyfriend, let's call him Adam, comes from a family and culture where mental health is basically witchcraft. Therapy is for crazy people and medication is seen as weakness. He always said he supported me, and to be fair, he did at the start. He came to one of my sessions. He asked questions. But lately, that support has thinned out. It started small. You seem different. You're not as funny as you used to be. Then, you don't laugh at my jokes anymore. And eventually, why are you still taking those meds? You seemed fine before. The thing is, before was a blur of highs so dizzying I thought I was invincible, followed by crashes so dark I didn't care if I woke up the next day. I didn't tell him everything. I didn't tell him about the time I sat on the bathroom floor with a bottle of pills. I didn't tell him about the voices that whispered that I wasn't worth loving. I wanted to protect him, from me. From the worst of me. But last night shattered something. We were at my place, and I took my meds in front of him like I always do. He made a face. I ignored it. I thought he'd drop it. He didn't. He started saying I'm numb now. That I don't smile the same. That I don't initiate sex like I used to. That before the medication, I was electric, spontaneous, wild in bed. I was stunned. I told him the meds are keeping me alive and stable. I told him that the old me he misses wasn't real, it was an illness spiraling. Then he dropped the bomb. I miss how you used to want me. You used to tear my clothes off. Now you barely touch me. That hurt. Bad. I told him, through tears, that my lowered libido was a side effect and that I'd been working on it in therapy. But he didn't care. He accused me of using pills to escape life. He said I was drugging myself into being boring. And then, after I started sobbing, he stormed out and told me to call him when I'm ready to stop hiding from life. I didn't sleep. This morning, I still haven't texted him. I keep thinking, does he love me or does he love the chaos of me when I'm unmedicated? Does he miss me, or the manic version of me who couldn't say no, who laughed too loud and cried too hard? I'm not going to stop my meds. That's non-negotiable. But I keep wondering, how do I talk to him about this in a way that lands? How do I explain that this isn't me numbing myself, this is me living for the first time? And most terrifying of all, what if he'll never understand? The next evening, I finally texted him. Short. Simple. Just, can we talk? He replied almost immediately. Sure. Come over. I didn't want to go to his place, but I also didn't want this conversation in public. So, I went. When he opened the door, he looked like he hadn't slept either. He didn't say much, just stepped aside to let me in. I sat on the couch while he paced. I was the first to speak. Adam. I need to be really clear. I'm not going off my meds. He sighed. I figured. I went on. I know you missed the version of me that was full of energy and impulsive and wild. But that wasn't a healthy version of me. That was me cycling through mania. You didn't see the crashes afterward. You saw me smiling, maybe even glowing, but you didn't see the part where I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days, or the panic attacks, or the self-hatred. You saw a highlight reel of my illness. He finally sat down. I kept going. When I'm medicated, I'm not numb, I'm stable. I can think. I can rest. I can make decisions without spiraling. And yeah, maybe I don't rip your clothes off every night, but I can actually make love to you without feeling like I'm disassociating. That should mean something. He looked down. It does. I miss how things used to be, so do I. But I'm not trading my mental health for your nostalgia. There was a long pause. Then he looked up and said something I didn't expect. I've been reading about bipolar disorder. I blinked. What? After I left your place, I felt awful. And I didn't know what to say, so I started reading. I didn't realize how deep it goes. I didn't know the high parts could be just as dangerous as the lows. He swallowed. I thought I was losing you, but I think I was just missing a version of you that wasn't real. Or maybe it was real, but it was hurting you. And I'm sorry I made you feel like being healthy made you less lovable. I was stunned. He went quiet. Then added, I still have a lot to learn. But I want to understand, if you'll let me. I nodded, tears welling up. We didn't solve everything that night. It wasn't perfect. But he listened. He asked questions. And most importantly, he stopped making my medication the villain in our relationship. Final update. So yeah, we're still together. We're going slow. He's reading, I'm explaining more, and we're going to a couples therapy session next week. I know this might not work out, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not fighting both my illness and my partner. Thanks to everyone who reminded me that choosing myself isn't selfish, it's survival. And if you're with someone who makes you feel guilty for managing your mental health, please know, love shouldn't cost you your peace. Stories number 2. My husband wants another solo vacation. While I'm drowning with our 3 kids, I'm 33, a mom of 3, our daughter is 7, and we have twin boys who just turned 8 months. I work a demanding 9 to 5 corporate job, and I've only been back from maternity leave for 6 weeks. My husband, 35, is a high school teacher. He's an amazing father, very involved, very affectionate, and usually reliable, but something has shifted lately, and I'm struggling. Last summer, I was heavily pregnant with the twins when he brought up the idea of taking a solo trip to the Bahamas. He argued that because I occasionally travel for work, it felt unfair that he didn't get time away too. He said he needed space, a break, a reset. And I get that. I really do. I want that too. But I was swollen, exhausted, and on the verge of delivering 2 babies, and still, I told him to go. I figured, okay, 1 trip, let him have this before things get crazier. I even encouraged him to relax and enjoy it, even though I could have used the support more than anything. Fast forward to now, I'm 6 weeks back into my job, still figuring out how to juggle deadlines and diapers, with 2 infants who don't sleep through the night and a 7-year-old who needs her own attention. We couldn't afford full-time childcare this summer because, well, my husband is off work and we assumed he'd be home helping. Our daughter is in full-day summer camp, but the twins? It's just part-time care. Which means most of the day, we're tag-teaming or, on many days, I'm doing both, board meetings and bottle feedings. And now, out of nowhere, he announces that he wants another solo vacation. This time, because he's sick of sitting around with the babies. I didn't yell. I didn't snap. But I laughed. Actually laughed. And then I flipped him off. Okay, in our house, flipping each other off in a joking way is kind of our thing. It's not hostile, it's just how we vent without escalating. But this time, he didn't take it well. At all. Suddenly, I'm the villain. He's furious, storming around, mumbling about how I always get what I want, how he sacrifices everything, and how he needs just one thing for himself. The thing is, I've barely left the house in months except for doctor's visits and groceries. I declined 2 business trips because I didn't feel like leaving him alone with 3 kids was fair when I was barely coping myself. I had one girls' weekend after the twins were born, and I even coordinated it so that he could have a guys' weekend soon after. I went out of my way to ask my brother-in-law to plan something with him, because I genuinely wanted him to get a break too. I don't control him. I don't micromanage where he goes or what he does. But we're in the thick of parenting right now, and I thought we had an unspoken agreement. We check in with each other before we make big decisions. We respect each other enough to ask, hey, can we make this work right now? Not demand, not sneak around, just talk like partners. Like co-parents. So when he says he wants another solo trip, when I'm already spread thinner than I ever have been, what am I supposed to say? Sure babe, go have fun while I continue drowning. He keeps bringing up how I traveled so much before we had kids. But that wasn't vacation. That was work. That was hotels and spreadsheets and red-eye flights. And even now, I'm not traveling. I'm here. Working full-time and raising 3 kids under 7. I'm here during the late-night feedings. I'm here when our daughter wakes up scared. I'm here when the bottles need sterilizing and the laundry never ends. And he's here too. Usually. But now he wants to tap out, again. He keeps throwing around this idea of fairness. But fairness isn't always 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes it's just showing up because the other person is out of gas. I don't need a partner who keeps score. I need one who can look around, see that I'm barely holding it together, and maybe, just maybe, postpone his beach dreams until things settle. He's not a bad person. He's not neglectful or lazy. But I think he's tired. Just like I'm tired. Only, he wants his rest in the form of a sandy beach with no crying babies, and I want mine in the form of a silent room and 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Since our argument, he's been cold. Distant. Like I hurt his pride more than his feelings. I tried to talk to him last night, to explain that I'm not trying to deny him anything, but that we need to be in this together, especially now. He didn't say much. Just nodded, said we'll talk later, and went to bed. But the silence is deafening. I keep asking myself if I'm being too rigid. Too reactive. Too controlling. But I come back to the same truth, I need him. Our kids need him. Not the version of him sipping cocktails on a beach while I wipe spit up off my work laptop, but the version who sat beside me in the NICU, who made me tea when I cried on the bathroom floor, who once told me, we're in this together. Always, I just want that version of him back. The one who didn't see me as an obstacle to his freedom, but as his partner, his teammate, his co-survivor in this messy, beautiful life we built. Update. So after our blow-up, things between us were extremely tense for several days. We were barely speaking, only the necessary exchanges about the kids or logistics. I could tell he was stewing. Honestly, so was I. Every time I looked at the twins, completely dependent on us, I felt like I was carrying the emotional and physical weight of everything while he was fantasizing about beaches and freedom. Eventually, we sat down to talk, really talk, and I told him I was exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally. That it hurt that he couldn't see how much I was holding everything together and that his idea of taking a break felt like abandonment, not self-care. I reminded him that I hadn't traveled for work since the twins, that I'd already said no to 2 trips, and that I was showing up in ways he couldn't see, like pumping at 2 a.m., coordinating pediatrician visits during lunch breaks, and mentally tracking which twin was due for what. He stayed quiet for most of it, but when he finally spoke, he admitted something I didn't expect. He said he felt like he was losing himself. That since the twins came, he's been dad 24/7, and even though he adores our kids, he sometimes misses feeling like a person. He said the solo trip idea wasn't to run away from us, it was about remembering who he is outside of bottles and baby gates. That he sees me go to work and interact with people, dress professionally, leave the house, and he felt envious. Like I still had a life and he didn't. It hit me harder than I expected. Because in my mind, I was barely hanging on. I was jealous of him, home with the kids, not juggling meetings and deadlines. But it turns out, we were both drowning in different ways. That conversation didn't solve everything, but it changed the tone. We started talking more honestly about what we both need, not just what the kids need. He apologized for springing the trip idea on me, especially at such a chaotic time. And I admitted I was more reactive than I needed to be because I felt so alone in the chaos. Now we're exploring options. Maybe he doesn't go on a solo trip this summer, but maybe we figure out a weekend where both of us get a break. Or maybe he takes a day trip somewhere close, just to breathe. And maybe I get one too. We're talking about hiring part-time help, even if it stretches our budget, just to give us some margin again. It's not solved. He's still annoyed he can't go. I'm still tired. But we're not shouting anymore. We're starting to see each other again, not just as parents, but as people who need things, and who sometimes just don't know how to ask. Final update. A few weeks have passed since our heart-to-heart, and things did slowly start to shift. We didn't magically solve everything overnight, but that raw conversation gave us a path forward. We made a joint decision, no solo trip this summer. Not because he wasn't allowed, but because we both acknowledged it wasn't the right time. We're in the trenches, and the trenches require teamwork. Instead, we planned a compromise. We arranged a weekend where his mom came to stay with us so I could take the kids and visit my sister out of town. Just a quick 2-day trip, enough for him to get 2 full nights of uninterrupted sleep, play video games, and eat snacks without wiping spit up off his shirt. He needed that. And he thanked me for it. Genuinely. Without guilt, without passive-aggressive remarks. 2 weeks later, I got my turn. He stayed with the kids while I had a spa day and spent a quiet night in a hotel with room service and absolutely no responsibilities. I didn't even open my laptop. I slept for 10 hours straight and woke up feeling like a human again. It was glorious, but more than the breaks themselves, something else happened. We started treating each other like partners again. He started jumping in with more intention. Took overnight feedings without being asked. Started cooking dinners again, even when he was exhausted. And I started letting go of that invisible scoreboard in my head, the one that tallied everything I did against everything he didn't. We became less about you versus me and more about how do we survive this season. He's even talked about postponing his World Cup plans slightly or shortening the trip so it doesn't feel like he's abandoning us again, and that alone meant a lot. Not because I asked him to, but because he recognized the weight of what I've been carrying. I think we both realized something important: we weren't just fighting about a trip. We were fighting to be seen. To not disappear inside the walls of parenthood. To be reminded that we're still individuals, still a couple, not just caregivers clinging to routine. Things aren't perfect, they never will be, but now we're asking better questions. Like, how are you doing, really? Or what do you need this week? It's not always easy, but it's honest. And that's a good place to rebuild from. TLDR, my husband wanted to take another solo trip just months after I gave birth to twins and returned to work. I said no, partly from burnout, partly from feeling unseen. It sparked a major argument, but after a raw and honest conversation, we realized we were both overwhelmed and grieving the loss of freedom in different ways. We compromised with separate weekend breaks, started supporting each other better, and slowly shifted from survival mode to being a real team again. No solo trip this summer, but a stronger partnership instead. Stories number 3. My girlfriend cut off her new male friend because she made me cut off a female friend. When I look back on our relationship, I think the first time I really questioned our sense of fairness, our balance, was when my girlfriend asked me to cut off a female friend I'd made through work. It wasn't romantic. It really wasn't. She was just a coworker who shared the same love for gaming that I did. We'd stay up late sometimes, playing Destiny or Apex or whatever was new, and we clicked fast. Honestly, it was one of the most effortless friendships I'd ever had. We never even hung out alone in person, just gaming online after work. At first, my girlfriend didn't seem to care. She even asked how we were doing in ranked, or if she ever beat me in KD that day. It felt cool. Like she was chill. Like I could have a friend of the opposite sex and my girlfriend wouldn't bat an eye. But that changed. Subtly at first. I started to notice little jabs. She'd roll her eyes when I got a notification. She'd ask, "You're not gaming with her again tonight, are you?" I'd try to laugh it off, explain that it's not like that. But after a few months, she gave me an ultimatum. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I can't do this anymore if she's still in your life. You're choosing between her and me, and I chose her. Maybe that makes me weak. Maybe I should have stood up more. But I loved her, or at least I thought I did, and I didn't want to lose her. So, I cut off my friend. Just stopped replying. Blocked her on everything. Never even explained. That's something that still haunts me, the way I ghosted someone who was a good friend, someone who didn't deserve it. Fast forward to now, and we're years into this relationship. We've weathered our storms. Or so I thought. About 6 months ago, she met someone new, a guy she started working with. I'll admit, I felt something tighten in my chest when she first brought him up. Maybe it was insecurity. Maybe it was instinct. But I noticed the way she lit up when she talked about him. I noticed how often his name came up in casual conversation. She swore it was platonic. And to be fair, she never lied about where she was or who she was with. But when she told me they'd gone out for drinks with a few coworkers, and he was always there, I felt that same ache I remembered from when she accused me of being too close to my coworker friend. I let it sit for a while. I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous, possessive boyfriend. But it kept eating at me. So one night, I told her. I said, "Listen, I need to talk about this guy. The drinking, the frequency, the way you talk about him, it makes me uncomfortable." She got quiet. She said she understood. She said she got it, and that she never meant to make me feel that way. But when I reminded her of the friend I gave up years ago, she said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. She said, "I was wrong to ask you to do that. I didn't trust you enough back then, and I regret it. I wouldn't make that same decision today." I sat there, trying to wrap my head around it. It sounded like an apology, but it didn't feel like one. I told her, "The difference is, you still got your friend. I didn't. I ghosted someone for you, someone I never got to explain anything to. You still have the chance to not hurt someone the way I did." She went quiet again. Then I said the thing I'd been wrestling with for days: "If you want me to stick around, I need you to cut it off." I know how that sounds. I hate even saying it. But you can't just rewrite history and say it doesn't matter because your perspective changed. You benefited from a sacrifice I made. Now I need to see you're not just offering words, you're willing to back them up. She didn't respond right away. She looked torn. Like part of her wanted to argue, but the other part knew I wasn't asking from a place of revenge, but of fairness. Eventually, she said okay. She agreed, but I could tell it wasn't easy for her. It felt half-hearted. And that's where we are now. She said she'll distance herself. She said she'll stop drinking with him and keep it strictly professional. But I still see her hesitate when his name comes up. I still wonder if she resents me deep down for asking her to let go of someone who made her days easier, brighter. The same way I resented her when I had to do it. But the biggest thing I'm sitting with? I'm not proud of how I handled this. I never wanted to give ultimatums. I never wanted to mirror something I hated. I don't know if this means our relationship is built on hypocrisy or just two people trying, and failing, to learn from their past mistakes. But it doesn't feel settled. Update: my girlfriend cut off her new male friend because she made me cut off a female friend. So, it's been a couple of weeks since she agreed to distance herself from the guy at work. And on the surface, things have felt normal. Too normal, actually. That kind of eerie calm where everything seems fine, but you can tell something is simmering underneath. She hasn't mentioned him. Not once. She used to talk about work all the time, little stories, annoying customers, office politics. But now? Nothing. It's like that entire part of her day vanished. And honestly, it doesn't feel like a gesture of trust, it feels like a wall going up. I tried to bring it up a few days ago. I asked her casually, how's work been? And she just shrugged and said, busy. That's it. This is a woman who once told me every petty detail about a coworker stealing her yogurt from the break room. Now she won't even tell me who's covering her shifts. I don't want to accuse her of hiding anything. I want to believe she's just trying to protect my feelings, but it doesn't feel like she's doing that out of love. It feels like she's withdrawing emotionally. Last night, we got into a fight. A real one. No yelling, no insults, but those cold, tight conversations where both people are speaking calmly, but every word has sharp edges. I told her I felt like she resented me for asking her to let go of that friendship. She said, of course I do. That hit me like a punch. She continued, I did it because I love you. But I do resent it. Not because I think it was unfair. But because I know what it feels like now. You were right, back then, I didn't get it. But now I do. And it sucks. She said she hates that it took losing a friend to see how much it must have hurt me years ago. I asked her why she never apologized for it before, really apologized. She paused. And then she said the most honest thing I think I've ever heard from her. Because I thought if I acknowledged how wrong I was, you'd see me differently. You'd stop trusting me. That stopped me cold. We just sat there for a long time. No talking. Just the quiet space between two people realizing they've been carrying so many unspoken things for too long. And now? I don't know where we go from here. We're not broken up. But we're not really okay either. She told me she needs space to figure out how she feels. Not a breakup. Just space. So I'm giving her that. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared this is the beginning of the end. Because when you love someone, and you both hurt each other in ways you didn't understand at the time, sometimes love isn't enough to fix it. And maybe the saddest part is, we both know that. TLDR, years ago, my girlfriend made me cut off a female friend because she felt uncomfortable. Now that she made a close male friend, I asked for the same boundary. She agreed, but it's changed how we communicate. She's hurt, and now she truly understands what I went through. We're in a weird emotional limbo right now. Not broken up, but definitely broken in some places. Stories number 4. My boyfriend admitted he orchestrated our meet cute. I have no idea how I feel about what he told me. I want to think it's cute that he cared this much, but it's just coming off as creepy and I feel lied to. He got drunk because we were celebrating my first successful day at my clinicals and he ended up saying something along the lines of, could you believe we wouldn't be this happy if I hadn't watched you for so long? To which I was confused and didn't know what he meant. Well, I had worked at a local library for 2 years, before we met, during college, and apparently he saw me there but didn't actually talk to me. He just would watch me and listen in on my conversations with the people I was checking out and my coworkers to figure out what I liked. Then he apparently followed me and found the coffee shop I frequented. All this time I thought we had a sweet first-time meeting story. He accidentally bumped into me, apologized, and offered to buy me coffee for the trouble. He told me what he was ordering and it was the exact same thing I always get and I thought it was an amazing coincidence. I joked that it was fate and we spent like an hour talking over coffee. I feel so stupid. Apparently it was similar to a scene in a book that I had read and told my coworker I had thought was cute. I'm just so frustrated and angry. I feel betrayed, like why would you do this? And how much of our year-and-a-half relationship is a lie? Like it sounds like he was stalking me. Edit, just so we're all on the same page, I don't believe he was watching me the whole time I was working there, I think it was the last 6 months or so before I actually met him. He is a bit socially awkward, but he has a group of friends that he plays D&D and hangs out with like once a week. He's 25 and I'm 22, so it's not a weird age gap. I have never really considered him going through my phone weird because I basically let anyone look at my phone whenever. I'm not worried about anyone seeing anything. I've also never really been worried about my safety with him before, but I do know that he has anger issues and has gotten in trouble for getting into a few physical fights, so for those of you worried about me, I will be watching for any signs I might have missed. I mainly am just upset because I feel like our relationship was built on a lie, even if it was a smallish one. He also said he was interested in a lot of the same things I was when we first met, and for a while he kept up with them, but lately he hasn't at all, and I'm now wondering if he lied about those things too. I definitely need to have a conversation with him, and I'm driving home now, so I'll talk with him when I get there. Thanks for the feedback, folks. The following edit was made by my ex, but I'll leave it here so you can see it. Edit, I was wrong. He has done nothing wrong. Update 1. Hey everyone, I know a lot you have been worried about me, and I just wanted to let all of you know that I'm safe. Shit has definitely hit the fan, but at the moment I'm safe. First, no, I didn't make that last edit. My boyfriend went on my phone while I was showering and trying to figure out what I wanted to say to him about everything, and he found and edited my post. He then started yelling at me while I was still in the shower about sharing it online and calling him creepy. At the same time, he was guilt-tripping me and telling me that it was romantic and he did it because he loved me. He literally read a few of the comments out loud to me. He barely let me out of the shower, but I did manage to get my clothes on while he was screaming at me. What really freaked me out was that he started listing off things that he could have done to me. I won't list them here because it was extremely gruesome and I don't think it's allowed, but he said that he didn't do those things because he's such a nice guy. The way he described the things he could have done though made me feel like he had genuinely considered doing it. Also, I thought he was only watching me for a few months, apparently it was upwards of a year, and it was genuine actual stalking. He had followed me home and to my college campus. He pulled out a collection of my lost hair ties that he kept. I told him that he was scaring me and that we needed to take a break and come back to it later. At that, he put a hole in the wall next to my head. I told him that I was leaving after that because fuck that shit, and it was like a switch flipped and he started crying. He got on his knees and begged me to stay and apologized. I ended up accepting his apology because I didn't feel safe leaving. Yesterday morning after he'd left for work, I grabbed all my important documents and irreplaceable things before my clinical started and kept them in my car. After my clinical, I didn't go back to the apartment. I'm not going to give much more detail than that because he does know my account obviously. And for Andrew, if you're reading this, which we both know you are, please just leave me alone. The person I thought I loved doesn't actually exist, and that's heartbreaking. I no longer feel safe with you like I did before, and I hate that. Please let's just move on from each other. Update 2. My ex-boyfriend ended up being more than a little crazy. I learned that he stalked me for over a year before we started dating, and after I learned that he became violent. I have screenshots of threats of violence that he sent me, as well as pictures of some bruises that I have from him. There's also security footage of him attempting to sneak into my place of work to find me. My local police department has been generally unhelpful with their advice and have told me that unless he's actively harming me, they can't do anything. This is regardless of all of the evidence I have that he fully intends to hurt and/or kill me. They have taken statements from me and there is a report open though. Do you believe the evidence I have is sufficient to get an order of protection? And if I am going to file one, do I need to have a lawyer? Edit, I've received help, thank you. Update 3. Honestly, I just want to scream into the void because this is annoying as shit. It's scary too, but I'm mostly just fed up with it. Like, I'm not even that pretty. Why did you latch on to me? Why did you decide to constantly text and call me after we broke up? On that note, did you think threatening to murder me would woo me back into your arms? Showing up at my clinicals is also really shitty, and not even because I'm scared, but because telling my educator and the hospital I'm trying to learn at that my ex-boyfriend is psycho is embarrassing for me. Also, low-key embarrassed that I dated a guy without knowing he stalked me for over a year prior to our relationship. Not to mention I'm spiraling between laughing hysterically at what my life has come to and just wanting to straight up end it all because I'm so tired of being on edge all the time. It'd be easier to just sleep and not wake up. I haven't gotten a full night of sleep in weeks though, so, thanks. Also, literally self-defense stuff is so expensive, I hate it so much. Like, yes, my safety is important, but who has this much money to spend? But I have to spend it because even the cops say they can't help unless he's actively attacking me, and getting a protective order is great and all, but it doesn't mean shit if they won't follow it. Ugh. Fuck you, asshole, you know who you are. My ex-boyfriend comment. Oh, I'm guessing this is why people have been messaging me again. A new update is I'm back with my ex. I was overreacting and we're back together. Thanks. New update start here. Relevant comments from when ex-boyfriend was on the account. Thread 1. Commenter 1. Okay Andrew, we totally believe you and are not hoping to God that you only have her account and didn't kidnap her or something. Can you explain how you moved past him hurting you physically and how you were overreacting to his murder threats? Commenter 2. Look. Will it make y'all feel better if I admit I'm Andrew? She's legitimately fine. Admittedly I was pretty dramatic with my threats but that's because it broke my heart for her to leave. But she's back home with me now and she's safe. Thread 2. Commenter 3. I wonder why. You told your girlfriend who you stalked all the things you could have done to her, but didn't, and then punched a hole in the wall near her head, she fled. And now you're on her account being like everything is fine. Just so you are aware, none of this is fucking normal. So, yeah. A bunch of people think you are a legit psycho. Commenter 4. LMAO, would it make everyone chill if I let her back on you think? I wanted her to focus on our us time but y'all are going crazy. She's just some stranger to you guys. No idea why y'all care. Commenter 5. This is either horrific or fake. Either way, you are an epic weirdo. Commenter 6. Thanks, well she's waking up now so I'ma go spend my time with her because contrary to popular belief she's literally fine. Relevant comments from when OOP got her account back. Commenter 1. Y'all, is there a way we can make sure she's actually okay? Commenter 2. I sent a proof of life photo to another user earlier this morning. Promise I'm actually okay, my situation isn't ideal right now but I'm alive and okay. I'm at my clinicals currently so don't be alarmed if I delete any comments or anything later when I'm going back home today. Commenter 2. Really? Why remove your past 2 posts then? Why not give more of an explanation as to why you seemingly reconciled so quickly? You were threatening her life and she was looking into getting a restraining order and now everything's okay? No one believes you. Commenter 3. Look, admittedly what happened was really shady. I did go back with him because I felt like I'd be in more danger if I didn't. ATM, I'm working things out. Yes, I'm being purposefully vague. I'm able to get to my clinicals currently and I'm doing my best to use that to my advantage. As for the deleted posts, I didn't delete anything but I'm not surprised he did. I'm personally considering deleting this post because I'm worried about what will happen if someone contacts the authorities and things escalate. I'm at a DV shelter. I'm not gonna go into detail for obvious reasons, but for those of you who have been worried about me, I'm currently safe at a domestic violence shelter. Thank you for caring about me, much love to you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad to hear this, but also a bit skeptical. How do we know this is not the abuser commenting again? Commenter 2. I mean, all you can do is trust me I guess. I'm not comfortable sharing anything more because he's probably still watching this account. Stories number 5. If I don't remind my wife it's my birthday. I've been married for 6 years and I love my wife dearly. However, there's been a disconnect between us. I feel like I'm more invested in our relationship than she is. I'm always the first to apologize when we argue, always the one to press issues so we can talk, and the one who typically bends so we can find balance. Today is my birthday and so far it's like she has no idea. We went through the normal motions this morning, talked about our day and she asked if we can grab takeout tonight from her favorite place so she's clearly forgot. I'm not someone who makes a big deal about things like birthdays but also I guess I'd like to have it acknowledged. I'd like that reassurance that I matter to people. I mean I feel kinda invisible in my own life sometimes and I just want to know people care. I guess I'd like to know if I'm a priority to her. To see if she even would acknowledge my birthday if I don't prompt her. I mean I took her out for hers, got her gifts she loved, etc. I'm just curious if I would even hear the 2 words if I didn't say anything. Whipta if I continue to go through today without telling her. Sum of comments. Commenter, NTA, may seem weird but I suggest not saying anything to see if she really forgot. Has this happened before or anything similar? Reply, no not really. She has a history of hating her own birthday and tries to avoid it so I kind of have to dance around it to show that I care. Maybe she downplays mine because she hates her own. Ick. OOP's motivation. I'm not doing it to be petty or anything. Just sometimes it feels like no one would really notice if I disappeared. Today just feels like that I guess. Commenter, not liking her own birthday isn't an excuse. I don't like celebrating my own birthday and would be totally fine if no one acknowledged it. I always celebrate my spouse's birthday and make him feel loved and special. You would not be the asshole if you didn't remind her. Tell her tomorrow and tell her exactly how invisible you have been feeling in your relationship. She sounds self-involved so maybe it will be a bit of a wake-up call. Reply, yeah I think I'm just going to go this route. I don't want to tell her and have her just be reactionary. I'll tell her tomorrow and how it made me feel and try to work on us. To the divorce comments. Yeah, I'm not anywhere near divorce, just kinda hurt by the situation. Update post. So yesterday was my birthday and I was under the impression that my wife had forgotten. I got all up in my head questioning a lot of things in our marriage. My wife had earlier mentioned getting fast food from one of her favorite places and it made me think that my birthday wasn't even on her radar. Well, following the advice I received, I didn't say anything to her. I went to pick her up from work and give her her keys. We're at one car between us because mine is in the shop, and everything played out as normal. However, instead of going to Crushed Red like she had mentioned, we pulled up at my favorite Mexican restaurant that we only go to on special occasions. Over the course of one massive burrito and some deep margaritas, we got to talking. She said it was really hard to not say anything, but she wanted to surprise me. I told her how I had felt and she was immediately apologetic. She blamed herself and I told her she had nothing to apologize for. She was trying to surprise me and I could have remedied everything by just communicating. We talked about our relationship a bit and had a good night. She asked me what I'd like to do and I just wanted a simple night, so we went home and watched a movie together I'd been trying to get her to see, The Raid, Redemption, which she actually really liked. All in all, it was a good night and a lot of my fears were misguided. I felt like I owed you guys an update after so many of you reached out yesterday. Hope you all have a good day. Sum of comments. Commenter. Bro went from she forgot my birthday to we're bonding over burritos and beating people up in the raid. Emotional roller coaster but 10-10 ending. Reply, yeah, honestly I can't explain it, it's what I was feeling at the moment. Figured I'd tell it like it happened, lol. Commenter, good update. This is why I hate surprises like this though. Like you want me to spend half my birthday being miserable because you want to surprise me later. Makes no sense. Reply, I mean, to be fair to her, we spent most of that day working, we currently work in the same building, and she didn't have a whole lot of time to do say much. I was stuck working and spiraling a bit for several hours. She was looking to surprise me with it after we got off work. OOP's wife ignoring them. I mean, I did my best to not let on how I was feeling. I think if I had been more honest about it she would have definitely responded. She wasn't being deliberately hurtful, it was an oversight and bad communication. She just wanted to surprise me, and to be fair she did. To another commenter, honestly she is doing a lot. With my car being in the shop she's driving us both to work even though I am scheduled an hour before she is. She just chills for an hour to help me out. I also probably would have gotten more attention etc. if I hadn't been dismissive. I played it off like it was fine and gave short answers to her messages. This was mainly on me and not communicating well. Commenter, this actually made me tear up a bit. Sometimes we spiral in silence when all we needed was a little moment of patience. I'm really glad y'all got to reconnect over burritos and honest convo. This kind of quiet love and effort hits different. Happy late birthday. Reply, honestly she really is good to me. I was in an abusive relationship for years before her and ever since I've been on high alert for red flags to keep from having it happen again. This leads to me sometimes seeing things in a more jaded light than they need to be. She really is great, and while communication isn't perfect sometimes we both really try. To a downvoted commenter saying she really did forget. I'd say that, but honestly I know her well enough to know her tells. She was being genuine. Plus this place is the kind of place you need to get a reservation, it gets crazy busy at night. She had already booked us a table. This was planned. Commenter, I used to plan parties. After witnessing lots of people feeling neglected by their loved ones keeping a surprise secret, I started telling people not to pretend to have forgotten the occasion. So many hurt feelings that don't go away in an instant even if the reason was wholesome. Reply, I mean once it clicked what her plan was etc. I stopped feeling hurt. If anything she felt so bad for making me feel that way even if it was inadvertent. I told her not to hold on to it and that I wasn't upset anymore now that I understood the situation. I could have said something to her at any point but was getting in my own head and digging myself deeper. Commenter, glad it worked out. But also, if you're questioning your marriage because your partner may have forgotten your birthday, there are likely other issues being repressed. Either personally or in your relationship. When you're old and gray, you're going to forget each other's birthdays sometimes. You might even forget your kids' birthdays as they age. You'll forget days that are important to others. It doesn't mean you don't love the person whose birthday you're forgetting, life just happens. This is why healthy, gentle communication is so important, always. Hopefully you've learned that from this situation. Reply, yeah, we talked about it over dinner, our communication had gotten lax and we just kind of fell into a daily routine. We're both committed to working on it though and own our part in the breakdown. Stories number 6. Being mad at my husband after he let our daughter shave her head. We have a certain tradition in my family. During the summer, all children in age 10 have their hair dyed, currently with a special dye that wears off after a few days. We dress in colorful clothes, decorate my grandparents' house, and celebrate for 3 days and 3 nights. There's cake, presents, various contests, and so on. It is a family tradition, not a matter of culture or country, and it comes from the time when one of my great-great-grandmother lost many children before they turned 10. Well, my daughter turns 10 this year. She is one of 3 children in this age. The celebration was scheduled for August 1st. Everything was going well, she was very happy. And then I went on a business trip. When I came back, my daughter had a shaved head. Honestly, I was shocked because during this time I did not receive any information or even a photo. I asked my husband what happened. He said that he and our daughter were watching some cartoon together and one of the characters had shaved her hair, so our daughter decided she wanted to shave hers too. And he agreed. That caused a lot of drama. We had a bit of an argument, and honestly, at the time, I was more concerned that he'd allowed her shave her head on such a small impulse. But the next day, my mother came in and a conversation about tradition began. You know, how to dye hair that doesn't exist. My mother suggested a wig or just painting my daughter's head, but my daughter burst into tears because she realized she would be the only one 10-year-old whose hair wouldn't be dyed. She also refuses to go to the celebration now because it won't be the same. And now she's mad and my husband is furious with me, thinking the whole tradition is stupid and that it's the tradition's fault that our daughter is upset. I, on the other hand, think he was irresponsible and he should have thought about what he was doing before he started shaving her head. Yes, my husband knows about the tradition. He's been there twice. Edit, yes, my daughter is completely bald now. As for what if one of the kids doesn't want to dye their hair? The answer is that my brother was that kid. So on the day of the celebration, he wore a rainbow wig, and no one had a problem with it. The thing is, as I've already pointed out, my daughter doesn't want wigs or head paint, she wants dyed hair. Edit 2, I've noticed that many people in the comments have a strange view of this tradition, so I want to clarify something. No, we're not talking about dead children, nor is there a cemetery-like atmosphere. Although it began with many deaths, it is a celebration of life and joy. Something like a huge birthday. That's why everyone dresses colorfully, that's why we paint ourselves and decorate our houses, and that's why children get presents. Stories number 7. I believe my brother has been replaced. I, am 30, want to preface by saying I'm not mentally ill, and this is not the schizo post you are expecting. I have no better way to articulate what I'm thinking right now. My brother, M20, just came back from his gap year, traveling Asia in hopes that he'd find himself. We were never really close, so his lack of contact during this year didn't strike me with too much alarm, but my parents have informed me of 3 separate incidents in which they needed to contact consulate authorities to ask about him. He's a mummy's boy, so this did seem very out of character. We hosted a dinner for my brother's return to the country, but upon seeing him at the airport, it was like a stranger tried to draw my brother from memory, and pass that as the real thing. He looked completely different. He was severely underweight, he looked 2 to 3 inches shorter, he seemed bedraggled and unkempt. Believe me, this was the opposite of my brother prior to his trip. He has always been a germaphobe, someone who washes his hands twice to make sure he eliminates all the bacteria, but this guy. He smelled horrendous. He didn't even talk to us, or properly acknowledge our existence. He begrudgingly gave our mom a hug, and our dad a handshake. He did not say hello to me. It's been around 2 weeks, and what I've been hearing from my parents is horrifying. Apparently he's been extremely active at night and sleeping during the day, they can only get faint murmurs out of him and his speech is becoming increasingly nonsensical. He doesn't shower, he doesn't seem to eat, he spends all his time locked away in his room, doing something, my parents don't know what, extremely loudly. They've already contacted a doctor, and he's on a waiting list to see a therapist. I suggested getting the police involved but they were determined not to. My mom is afraid, and I don't know what to do. I volunteered to stay over and be the peacekeeper, as our parents are getting old and I'm personally worried about that psycho doing something to them. However, my parents have too rejected this. I was never too close with my brother, but this isn't him at all. Does anyone know what could have caused this? Or what we can do? It's like someone kidnapped my brother and replaced him with the dude from Castaway. Edit. I've seen a lot of people suggest theories, including drug use, or underlying mental health issues. I had my mother over today, primarily to talk about my brother's condition. My wife was against mentioning the DNA test I ordered, so they are still unaware of my suspicions. My mum told me about the 3 incidents involving the authorities in Vietnam. The first one was a wellness check, after my parents heard nothing from him for about a week, this might have been overzealousness on my mum's part. The second and third instances were actually a part of the same correspondence but turned out to be much more disturbing than I thought. Local authorities were worried my brother and two other female friends had been trafficked in Laos, as they failed to return to Vietnam on time. However, this was resolved after half a month. I have no idea the status of his friends, but I suspect they all returned to Vietnam together. With regards to my brother at present, my parents have since agreed to my suggestions of adding cameras to communal areas as well as installing a doorstop in their own room. They have also given me news that they will go private to seek psychiatric treatment for him, starting next week. We'll keep you all updated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, a hard drug addiction is the most likely answer. DNA testing would clear this up real quick. If the result is a match, I'd suggest you seek counseling for both of you. In that case, either he's done a lot of hard drugs and needs help, or you have some tendencies toward delusion. If the DNA is not a match, you've got your hard proof and can probably get the help you need. The kind of resources needed to pull off the scheme you're describing would make it a very odd way to spend one's time. Finding someone similar looking enough to fool not only airport authorities but also family has got to be difficult and expensive. If your family is not high profile, I'm talking head of state, Fortune 500 C-suite or otherwise ultra-wealthy, it would not make any sense to pull something like this off. Even then, it's such a crazy scheme I can't imagine anyone actually trying it. And to what end? An inheritance scheme or something? Reply, my family are quite controversial, particularly for Vietnam, which is mainly why my parents were against my brother's gap year to begin with. I can't elaborate further on that regard, unfortunately. But there is definitely reason for something like this to happen. Commenter 2, I'm definitely on board with this. Please make sure you get help ASAP. Lack of sleep, hygiene, social withdrawal etc. It has a tendency to spiral quite fast. And you should really push psychological clinical help ASAP. Not only for Ho's safety but your parents'. It is not something that will pass by itself or can be cured with love. Please keep in mind that Voice's visions usually start out quite friendly. What country did he go to? Regarding the height difference. You could easily shrink 2 inches just from terrible posture. Otherwise it could indicate osteoporosis. Please stay safe. Reply, I'm not quite sure of all the countries, but I think Vietnam and Laos were a part of it. Commenter 3, do you mean that you literally think someone else is pretending to be your brother? Or are you speaking more figuratively and you think your brother is just acting differently? Reply, it was meant to be figuratively, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't genuinely concerned. Commenter 4, sorry but he's in your house, doing things in his room loudly and you can't go and check on him? WTF. Break down the fucking door. WTF are you doing? Do your parents own the house or does your brother? Remember that instance of that stupid mother who basically left her son to his own devices as he constructed a guillotine in his room to kill himself and the mom never saw the inside of the room because of privacy. Time to get a backbone and step up. He almost certainly is not making decisions behind that door that are good. Do what you need to do, not what's comfortable. Reply, my parents are in their 80s, and while they're very firmly against my interventions, they seem to give him a free pass. It's a sticky situation all round, plus I'm personally afraid for my parents in the event they stand up for themselves. Commenter 4, wait, they had your brother in their 60s? Reply, he was a surrogate baby. Family member missing. Location, France. Hey all, I'll keep this query as brief as possible. My brother has disappeared. My parents only noticed this morning, but it is likely he fled sometime last night as we booked psychiatric treatment for him on Tuesday. He is seriously unwell, and on another thread people have claimed his condition might have been exacerbated through drug use. We don't want the police involved. We don't want this to be a public affair, as our family can't afford it right now. We live in a semi-rural town near the Swiss border, so we are hoping to find him before he hurts himself. How can we go about finding him? Any help would be appreciated. Top comments. Commenter 1, you do want the police involved, trust me. Commenter 2, I understand not wanting the police involved but there is no other choice. I've read your other post about him and he might not only be a danger to himself but also other people. You shouldn't delay contacting the police any longer, nothing good will come out of that. Best of luck man. Commenter 3, based on your other post, you absolutely need police involved. You are worried that this can become public, but it will be worse if he hurts himself or others. Once he is found, you need to commit him immediately. Update, my brother has been replaced. Hey all, I thought I'd share an update. This will also be my last post on this site and I wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who commented, to those who provided genuine help and support, I couldn't be more thankful. My brother is dead. We found him in the early hours of this morning and I've spent the rest of the day finding the courage to make this post. Maybe it's shock, but I'd like to think he died over in Vietnam, and upon his return, his body was simply catching up, rather than prolong his torment. You all do a wonderful service here, so please keep doing what you're doing. All the best. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry for your loss. Take some time away from the internet, take care of yourself and your parents. Reply, they are a lot more devastated than I am. I think it's because they view the past 20 years to be a waste. I don't view it this way. My brother lit up every room, and every moment I had with him was cherished, however I do also believe this moment was inevitable since he returned. In a weird way, I'm glad he went out on his own terms rather than endure what could have been years of pain. Commenter 2, I remember your other post. I am so sorry for your loss. It sounds like at the very least, you may have started to grieve him some after seeing the state he was in upon return. I hope you find peace with what happened, in whatever form that may be. My heart goes out to you and your family. Commenter 3, in addition to being sincerely sorry for what grief you and your family are enduring, I also want to say that it's because of you, your brother, and the experience you shared about his return, that I just called a couple of buddies to set up visits with them this weekend. I've really been feeling like each of them have been receding and struggling quite a bit and are in need of a visit from a friend. And having just made those calls, I'm now terrified what might have happened if I hadn't come across your posts and been moved to action. No matter what may or may not have happened if I didn't reach out to my buddies, just know that your candor and your brother's struggles have probably had some potentially life-saving effects for a couple strangers. Commenter 4, we wish you a lot of strength in these hard times. No idea what he went through over in Vietnam, but it must have been soul-wrecking. Take time for yourself and the family, because this will leave a big scar. Stories number 8. Aita for telling my boyfriend to leave after he refused to show basic respect toward my kid's father. I, 32F, have 2 sons with my ex-husband. We share custody, and he came by recently to pick them up from my house. My current boyfriend, we've been together a little over a year, lives with me and my kids. When my ex arrived, I asked my boyfriend to come out and just acknowledge him, not to be friends, not to have a full conversation, just to show respect as another adult in the house who's around my kids. BF and ex-husband have met several times before and shared conversation. I asked him twice, and he flat out refused. Later, I asked why, and he just shrugged and said, I didn't feel like it. That set me off, hot like fish grease, because how do you live in a house with a woman and her kids, but feel no responsibility to at least show minimal respect when the kid's father comes to pick them up? We ended up in a huge argument. He turned it around on me, saying I have more respect for my ex than I do for him, and completely dismissed the point I was trying to make. I told him his character doesn't align with the things he always talks about, like respect, responsibility, and being an example. I pointed out how often I support him, especially with his kids and his ex-wife, yet when it comes to me asking for something, he either deflects or blames me. Eventually I told him he could leave as his character does not reflect the words he preaches, and he said he'd stay the night and go home in the morning. I said nope, you can leave tonight. He packed his stuff, I drove him to his place, and that was that. Now some mutual friends are saying I overreacted and was overly emotional, that I blew up over something small, and should have handled it differently. But I'm tired of explaining why respect, especially around co-parenting, matters. So, Aita for kicking my boyfriend out over this. Update, I've seen the NTA and YTA comments and wanted to offer more context that I didn't fully unpack in the original post. My ex-BF and I grew up together since elementary, dated in high school. Our families are very close. He pursued me for the relationship. I've been divorced, and single for 3.5 years, him 2 years. My now ex-BF has consistently expects me to parent his kids not just emotionally, but physically and financially. I've done so willingly because I care deeply about them, and I believed in building a healthy, blended family. I've supported his children in every way possible, showing up for school functions, covering basic needs, creating stability, and offering a home life they could rely on. I recently even purchased a home so we could cohabitate. Now, it will just be me, my kids, and our dogs because I've realized I was doing the emotional heavy lifting alone. His ex-wife cheated on him, left both him and their children, and is largely absent by her own admission. Yet I'm constantly asked to engage with her or respond to her passive-aggressive behavior just to soothe his anxiety. I've stayed cordial with her for the kids' sake, but I've made it clear I'm not arguing with another woman to defend his pride or insecurities. I didn't create that dynamic, and I don't need to get dragged into it. Meanwhile, my ex-BF frequently complains about my ex-husband being mostly absent, yet refuses to directly address the lack of involvement from his own ex. Instead, he vents or expects me to handle it. I've also gotten off the emotional roller coaster with my ex-husband about our kids. We have had our history of back and forth arguing about his parenting. I just want to move forward in peace. With that, when I ask my now ex-BF for any kind of emotional or physical support, whether it's about my kids, my work, or even just life, he responds with barking commands, expectations, or hypotheticals he never actually follows through on. He also has outdated views about gender roles and constantly talks about a woman's place and a man's place. I've had to remind him this is 2025, not 1925. If we're partners, then the effort and support have to go both ways. You don't get to demand full loyalty, care, and labor from me while offering resentment and control in return. He does not work due to health issues. I'm not perfect, but I've given more than what was asked, and when I made a decision that supported my boundaries for once, it became a problem. As many have stated, this was the tipping point for me. I'm open to feedback. Commenter 1. My partner and I live together. I do not interact with his ex-wife when she comes to get the kids. And my partner doesn't interact with my ex-husband when he comes to get our kids either. There is really no need, as they have met already. I also do not interact with my ex-husband's girlfriend. And I'm sure she lives there. Or is there most of the time at least. I've met her already, no need to talk. Commenter 2. It would be one thing if they never interacted and he was deliberately avoiding talking to him. But if they've had multiple interactions before, there's no reason why he needs to talk to your ex every single time. And judging by one of your comments, it seems like the ex was the truly disrespectful one. What kind of dad promises to pick up his kids in the AM and then doesn't show up until almost 10 p.m.? Did he at least apologize or have an explanation for that? And if he didn't, why are you so okay with that if you genuinely care about respect? I'm leaning towards YTA here. Commenter 3. I was initially with you, from the topic, but then I read that they've already met, several times in the past. Why would you feel the need to force him, or your ex, for that matter, into further interactions? If it happens, it happens, but I guess I just don't understand forcing it. That's probably not ever going to be a comfortable situation, unless they just happen to share common interest and enjoy talking with each other. Stories number 9. In-laws straining my marriage, but it's my fault apparently. First post, so bear with me. About a year ago, me, 28F, and my husband, 30M, allowed my BL, 19M, to move in with us to get him out of a rough situation and help him start adulating. This was about May of last year. I agreed to have him move in with the promise from BIL and husband that it was only going to be a couple of months until BIL found a roommate to move out with. He is also to pay some rent monthly as he has a full-time job now, keep his area clean, and help out around the house. Keep in mind I have 2 children under the age of 5 and also work, and I'm still the housekeeper. Cleaning, cooking food, etc. While my husband also works about 60 hours a week. Fast forward those couple of months, no luck on finding a roommate. BL still living with us. Okay, he's young. I'm just gonna give him some more time to figure this out. I'm trying to be understanding and gracious, as I also had some help getting on my feet at this age. I have confronted BL a few times asking, so how is the roommate search going? You found an apartment yet? Only to be answered with shrugs and I don't know. I will say, at this point I'm starting to feel in the dark with what is actually going on. As in, is there even a plan of him moving out? Is he even looking for a roommate or an apartment? Husband says just give him more time and that he's working on it. Frustrated, it's Christmas time now and he's requesting to have his girlfriend of 2 years, who lives out of state, to move in too with the promise that she has a job and they will move out in 1 month. I tell my husband that I'm not comfortable with it, as BIL was not supposed to be here at this time in the first place. Husband says I'm overreacting and starts making comments of making me sound like I don't care about his family. Angry, I just shut down and keep my mouth shut to avoid the argument. My next mistake. Girlfriend moves in and surprise, doesn't have a job and claims she's been looking for one for 3 months now since living under my roof. Fast forward to now. Rent is not being paid anymore, the cleaning of their own areas have stopped, and there has been absolutely no trying to find a way to move out of my home. I've quit asking bail questions to keep myself from being furious and directed the questions towards my husband. At this point I'm done trusting that my husband has any plan or control in this whole situation, which is driving me insane. Anytime I bring it up to my husband, I'm met with hostility and accusations of just wanting to throw his family out on the street and that I shouldn't be upset with this because I agreed to it. Agreed to what? Yes, I agreed to BL moving in for a couple of months. Yes, I graciously gave him extra time to figure things out. At this point I no longer feel comfortable in my own home and every day me and my husband argue about it, which always turn into very ugly outcomes. We don't even sleep in the same bed anymore. I'm annoyed that I've been conned into taking on 2 grown adults, while trying to raise my own family. I'm angry that I'm being made out to be the bad guy when all I wanted was to be helpful. I don't know what to do anymore. I guess my main question to the Reddit world is, Aita, because I let this all happen in the first place. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, it is your fault. You allowed yourself to get into this situation because you have no backbone and you're allowing yourself to be treated like a welcome mat. You need an adult meeting with the four of you. You need a timeline of when these adults are leaving your home. If your husband doesn't support this, you need a timeline of when you're removing yourself and your children from this environment. You need to follow through. Your NTA though. Reply, thanks for the honesty, I do feel it is my fault for allowing it to go this far without any real action on my part. I guess this is a learning opportunity for me to not internalize my feelings until it's too late. Commenter 2, NTA, but that sounds like a terrible situation. Something you may not have considered, if the GF or BL go the legal route, because they have been there that long they could actually fight being evicted. Your husband is the AH in this case. Tell him he has to clean up their area, make their dinner etc. Any food they eat should come out of his spending money. Commenter 3, you have a DH problem. Get into marriage counseling. Find alternate housing for you and the kids. Now, if counseling doesn't work out, take your kids and visit family or friends for a couple of weeks and let him sort it out with his brother, and then tell him the condition that you will return home is when they are gone or you won't return and you can divorce. Commenter 4, NTA. You're effectively a doormat for your scheming and conniving husband. Either take the kids and split, or throw the husband and freeloaders out. If you don't, you'll be in the exact same position 10 years from now. Update 1. BL, 19M, and his GF has overstayed their welcome in my, 28F, and my husband's, 30M, home. 10 plus months for the BIL and 3 plus months for the GF. I was conned into the whole situation when both husband and BL said it would only be for a couple months, which was last May. Rent has stopped being paid, cleaning of their own areas stopped, and there has been no attempt of them to leave my home. I'm uncomfortable in my own home and my husband absolutely blows up at me anytime I bring it up, and accuses me of hating his family and wanting to throw them out on the street. Aita, first I would like to say thank you all for the different perspectives. Most of all the responses said I should just kick all three of them out and say good riddance. I will say, some of the responses gave me a good little laugh in this extremely frustrating situation, so thank you for that too. Taking everything into consideration, I gave my husband an ultimatum last night and I'm sticking to it. They need to be gone by June 1st, with all rent paid according to how I had laid it out, or else I'm moving out with the kids into an apartment. I'm also not cooking for them, just enough for me and the kids. All laundry detergents and toiletries will be kept in my closet and internet passwords will be changed. Now, before I get 2 months is too much time for them, hear me out. This is also time for me to get my ducks in a row should I actually be moving out. Which, in theory, I'll know by mid-May if they aren't moving out if they don't have anything lined up by then. I really do doubt my husband is wanting this to actually happen, me and the kids moving out, but I wouldn't put it past him thinking that I'm bluffing. All in all, I would hope it doesn't have to come to that point. I am happy to learn though after sketching a quick budget, that I would be able to support me and both of my children with my own income if worst came to worst. Thanks again. Relevant comments. What did OOP's husband say after she told him? Reply, he was surprisingly not as hostile as he usually has been. I say not as because there was no yelling swearing. He pretty much said I was overreacting and crazy to think that would even need to happen in the first place since they'll be out by then. If you could see my eye roll right now, SMH. Commenter 1, yeah, he doesn't believe you have any intention of actually leaving. I would let him know if you leave there will be no reconciling and you will divorce and demand the house be sold, so one way or another they will be moving out. Reply, I do see what you're saying, because I thought about how to go about selling the house if I leave. I will be honest and say that at this exact moment I'm not looking for divorce. I'm willing to give him the opportunity to at least try to salvage the mess he created. Unfortunately, it might just take me stepping out to realize where he messed up. On the other hand, if it does turn into divorce, at least I'll already have me and my kids established in a new place. Commenter 2, based on how your husband has dealt with this situation, I hope he is not calling your bluff, but be ready. Good luck. Commenter 3, I think your husband thinks you're bluffing and he'll try and con you again. He might say they'll move out and then guilt you for the next 2 months. And then sometime in May, he'll tell you that they need just a little more time. Be prepared for more bargaining and guilt tripping. Do not negotiate with them. I wish you luck. I hope your husband chooses well. NTAH. Commenter 4, NTA, I suggest 2 other things to help motivate your husband and show him how serious you are. Get an attorney to prepare a legal separation document. In this document, make sure you have sole decision making for your 2 children. Moving out is not just living in an apartment, it also means you have to be responsible in case your kids are sick etc. The second thing is to prepare a demand letter for the back rent. Both of these documents are intended to show your husband that his lack of action is the reason your marriage is failing. He needs to understand how serious this is, and it is not an empty threat. You're already sleeping in separate rooms. I can't imagine how dumb he is and why he is not treating you, your children, as more important than his brother and girlfriend. His priorities are all screwed up. Good luck. ETA, do this now, don't wait until June 1st. The objective is to avoid moving out, so this will motivate your husband. But meanwhile, keep looking for a new apartment, just in case. Update 2. BL, 19M, has overstayed his welcome at my 28F home for a year now. Moved in his GF, was not paying rent. GF went 3 months under my roof with no job and neither one of them contributing to the house. I work, have 2 kids under the age of 5, and at my wit's end. My husband, 30M, yells at me constantly for wanting to kick them out, and it's not that bad. So here we are, getting really close to June 1st, and yes, they are still living in my house. Here's where things are getting gray for me and need all the advice possible. I recently got diagnosed with stage 2 hypertension and working on getting that under control. I have chronic anxiety and experience rolling panic attacks that last for up to a week, sometimes twice a year. Since my last post I had a 4-day episode, as well as the diagnosis. Doc says I'm far too young to have a diastolic pressure chilling at 97 and will be dead in 15 years if I don't make changes now. Since then, I have been stepping back and focusing on me. Getting healthy, losing weight, etc. With that said, my husband has been a lot nicer to me and helping out around the house so I can focus on myself and my kids. The constant shouting has basically stopped, the gaslighting is non-existent, and for once I actually feel confident about my future. Since the diagnosis, the energy in my house has completely changed, and what I feel may be for the better. BIL's girlfriend has gotten a full-time job at the end of last month and to my surprise, has been sticking to it. Also, rent has been paid since me laying down the law back in March. They have picked up the cleaning routine, buy their own groceries, and actually seem to be doing well for themselves. Shoot, the GF has even been helping me out with the kids if I seem too stressed. They are actively looking at apartments and attempting to move out. But, it's looking like they are wanting to push out the June 1st deadline. Would I be showing myself as a doormat if I let them have a couple more weeks? Or is it my obligation to follow through with the deadline I gave in the beginning? I have a feeling my husband did have a lot to do with them getting their sh*t together, which I'm grateful for. Kinda sucks that I have to risk a stroke in order to get through to him though. That's another topic for a different day, I think. Next morning update. I put my kids down for the night last night and I brought the deadline up to my husband again. I calmly asked, hey, June 1st is coming up, any progress? No. Are you going to talk to them about it? No. Then he flipped. Really bad. Starting yelling at me at the top of his lungs. I told him we had an agreement and then he basically told me to hell with the agreement. I lost it, guys. I told him it's obvious he doesn't care about me or my feelings and that he's welcome to leave with them too. He says, okay, tell me when you want me out. I told him June 1st was already the date. He shut down, stopped talking. He stormed out the door. Said he wasn't going to fight about it tonight. I tried calling and messaging him, no response. He turned off his location. He came back late last night, doesn't say a word. Wakes up this morning and then tries to small talk with me. Like nothing happened. I ignored it all. Not because I'm trying to be petty, but because I genuinely don't know how to process this. My oldest wakes up today and asks why is daddy not staying at our house anymore. So knowing that my 4-year-old heard all of this commotion is devastating me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Please don't let them stay for a couple more weeks because it won't be a couple more weeks. The reason they're all being nice now is because you got a health scare. Be honest with yourself and ask yourself if this change would have happened if you didn't need to focus on yourself more. Once you get better, or see that you look better regardless of how you're truly feeling, they'll go back to the old ways. Stick to the June 1st deadline, and now you have even more reason, although you didn't need one before, to not want to have to deal with other people at home, where it should be your safe space to relax and not worry about whether they'll keep pretending to be nice or how long it's gonna last. I hope you get better and I truly wish you all the best. Reply, thank you for the advice, I put an update in the post. Last night didn't go well at all. Looks like I may be a single mom now. Looking back, I definitely see where I was putting myself last to save the peace, but for what? My kids need me alive and happy. If anyone is going to be put first over myself, it's going to be my kids. Period. Point blank. Does OOP have any family she can go to? Reply, my parents are close in proximity to me and they know everything that's going on and are ready for me and my kids to move in at moment's notice if needed. I'll be working on eviction notices, because the house is in my name. I know that I said in previous posts that I was going to move out, but I decided it's not my place to leave this house. It's theirs. OOP shares her feelings. Reply, confused, hurt, angry, everything. Just trying to process. Commenter 2, is the house under your name only or you and your husband? If you leave, it can be considered abandonment. Don't do it. On the first, if they haven't left, call law enforcement to have them removed. Reply, it's under both of our names but I am the main borrower. Don't know if that helps me or not. Yeah, I'm not going to leave, but I've been working with a lawyer to see what my options are. It really is playing chess at this point. What is the next step for OOP? Reply, divorce papers on the way. Final update. I'm a working mother of 2 young children and my BL moved in for a year that was only supposed to be for a couple of months. Also moved in his GF, she didn't have a job for months afterwards. My health severely declined from constant stress and anxiety of wanting them to leave. Husband got hostile any time I brought up them needing to go. Ada, they are out. Moved out about a month ago. Life as I know it is getting back to normal again. My husband got the message with the divorce papers. We have since been having way more open communication and I have decided to hold off proceeding with divorce ATM to see if there is anything worth saving in this relationship. I have since had some more health issues come up that I am going through a couple of procedures for next week and that has been my main focus for the last couple of weeks, hence the no reply for a while. I appreciate all the support and advice from everyone. I am taking every day still here on this earth as a blessing. Especially now that I have peace in my home and can sit back and breathe. I have also had the conversation with my husband about if he actually cares enough about me to stay with me through my procedure's possible diagnosis because I do not want to live what could be my possible last days with someone who isn't there physically, emotionally, and mentally. He has taken off work next week to take care of me throughout it all and I'm just going to go from there. Top comments. Commenter 1, good for you. It will be easier to recover in peace. I hate that it took such drastic action for him to finally listen but I'm glad you were willing to go to that point to make him listen to you. Commenter 2, reading your past posts, your husband deserves to be divorced. The mad disrespect towards the person that brought his children onto this world is insane. You risked your overall health, got even more stressed, and you progressively deteriorated into a bad mental space and now are having medical procedures. With the track record he's showing, he'll yell at you while in hospital all frustrated and shit because he's a man-child and use it against you that now he's there. Why can't you just be happy? He deserves to be kicked to the curb permanently. I know relationships and marriages aren't as easy as Reddit paints them to be and divorce isn't the solution in every case, but come on, you seem of sound mind. He's an awful person. Commenter 3, bro, gotta say, mad props to you for keeping it 100 and laying down the law. Your casa, your rules. Health and peace of mind over everything else. Fam, divorce papers were a bold move but looks like it was the wake-up call your hubby needed. Prayers for a swift recovery and better days ahead. Never easy but mad respect for your strength. Stories number 10. Aita for telling my wife that I'm tired of raising a kid that is not mine. I, 31M, am married to my wife Amber, 30F. We have a daughter Emma, 7F. The problem is my wife's best friend Jennifer, 30F, has a daughter as well, Harper, 7F. Well, Harper's dad is a lazy sack of crap and refuses to do anything with his daughter. He is the type of guy that brags about how he never changed a diaper. Jennifer and Harper are usually at Amber and my house on the weekends because Harper's dad is drinking and watching sports all weekend. On Saturdays I normally spend all day with my daughter because I don't see her as much as I want to during the week. However, with Harper being there every Saturday, anything I do with Emma I have to do with Harper. Take Emma to the zoo. It's Emma, Harper, and I, taught them both how to ride bikes, takes them both to dance class, take them both to the kids' salon, and so on. Mother's Day was the last straw. I took them both to dance class Saturday morning. Amber and I also pay for both dance classes because deadbeat won't. On the way home Emma asked if we could stop to get something for mom for Mother's Day. I said sure, but then it ended up I had to buy something for Harper to her mom as well. On the way home I just kept thinking, why am I buying someone else's wife a Mother's Day gift? That's his job. A few days later, because I did not want to ruin Mother's Day, I told my wife that I am tired of raising Harper. Her real father needs to step up. I tired of it taking away time I get to spend with Emma. She said that Jennifer is her best friend and we need to be there for Harper. Now she is not speaking to me and sleeping in the guest bedroom, so Aita. Just wanted to add some updates to questions I see. Emma and Harper are best friends. It was my idea to spend Saturday with Emma. I work more during the week, so I wanted to spend Saturday with Emma and to give my wife a bit of a break. We pay for things. Jennifer's husband thinks it's a waste on money to pay for dance class and Jennifer can't afford to pay by herself. Jennifer and Harper do things with Amber and Emma 1 or 2 times a week together during the weeknights. Comments. Where's Harper's mom in all this? Reply, just hanging out at our place. Harper started to come along because I thought it would be mean to take her friend and not her. At the start it was not all the time like it is now. So your wife probably enjoys hanging out child-free with her friend every weekend. If your wife doesn't agree to friend-free days, maybe the mom should start needing to attend the outings too. I don't understand why Harper's mom isn't at least driving kids to dance since you pay it, etc. Reply, our house is on the way to dance, so she comes here first. I also like going to dance, it's kind of fun being the only dad there, and after class we have our routine of going to the local bakery and getting a croissant and smoothie for breakfast. Are the gift and things you spend on her getting paid back to you? Reply, the short answer is no, the longer version is Amber and I make a decent amount more money than Jennifer and her husband does not like to waste his money on the kid. Jennifer cannot afford to pay us back, so any money I spend on her kid I know we are not getting back. 7 years in, you've set the expectation and Harper is not going to understand your withdrawing. So for taking 7 years to decide this was an issue. Reply, I see what you're saying, but it's gradually gotten to this point over 7 years. Part of it is she is here more now than when she was younger, part of it is as Emma has gotten older we do more involved things. When they were 3 we just went to the playground down the street, now it's trips to the science center. You should definitely have a talk with this sorry excuse of a father, if anything just to tell him what you think of him. Reply, I would, but he is not the civil discourse type of guy, but more of the alpha male beat you up type of person. Why do you pay for her dance classes? Why can't either of Harper's parents do it? Reply, I pay for the classes because Emma wanted Harper in class with her. Harper's father is the type of who is my money and Jennifer's money is their money and he does not want to waste money on classes. Update 1. So quite a few people has asked for an update on this situation. Sorry it's taken so long, but it's been a hectic few weeks. As for the updates, the Amber and I are fine. Her reaction was based on poor word choices by me, poor communication by both of us, and some things I was unaware of at the time. The short version is, things at home were much worse than I was aware of for Jennifer, and my wife had only recently found out how bad things were. Mother's Day was the straw that broke the camel's back for Jennifer as well. She was raised in a you must stay together for the kids family. When Harper came to me for a gift, she realized that her daughter did not see her sperm donor as a father, so it was time to get out. Jennifer came to my wife to ask for help leaving because she had no family in the area and Jennifer does not have the financial resources to leave on her own. So the night my wife was going to ask me if we could help her is when I told her I was tired of raising someone else's kid. That's what caused her reaction. The Saturday after our initial argument, Jennifer did not come over and Emma went to her grandparents, so the wife and I had a long discussion about what was going on. That's when I found out all the stuff going on with Jennifer. The wife and I decided that Jennifer and Harper can stay with us for the time being. My problem was never with those two, it was that I had to take over for the deadbeat, or deadbeat if you prefer. When we told Emma about this, she was super happy her friend was staying with her. We had a conversation with her that if she wants to have time with either parent without Harper, just let us know, and we do not want her to feel left out of anything. Last weekend, with the help of a U-Haul and some friends of mine, we got all of Jennifer's and Harper's stuff and moved it into our house. The good thing is we have a 4-bedroom house, so everyone gets a bedroom. The bad news is my wife's office got moved to the basement. Wish me luck, we shall see how this goes. Update 2. So it's been almost a year since my last update, but with Mother's Day upon us I thought I would post an update and try to answer the questions I've gotten. Jen and Harper are still living with us. As I mentioned before, Jen did not make that much money. She worked as a phlebotomist for our local health network. The good news is with the current nursing shortage they have a program where they will pay for employees to go to nursing school. She was able to start that in the end of August. The bad news is it's an 18-month program and they only let you work 20 hours a week while you are in the program. So the arrangement is once she graduates she will move out then. That should be next May. The divorce with deadbeat is still ongoing. Once he found out he was going to have to pay child support, he tried every dirty nasty trick he could think of. No idea when that will be finished. My wife is doing good, she happy she is helping her best friend, but 5 people in a house is a lot more work than 3. Since she works from home, the pre- and post-school work falls on her. Emma and Harper are still best friends. Shockingly, Harper is doing much better in this environment than before. They don't do everything together anymore. Harper quit dance class, but she started with soccer. I think knowing that she will get fatherly attention no matter what she is doing has given her some freedom to pursue other interests. Harper has turned into my Lego buddy. Emma never had any interest, but Harper and I have done some nice sets together. Emma and I still have our daddy-daughter dates on the weekend. I still take her to dance class, and she started to take fencing classes. I don't know if I should be proud or scared that she could defeat me in a sword fight. I think I am doing better a year later. That there is a plan with a timetable for Jen and Harper has relived a lot of stress from my life. That I also don't have to see deadbeat has also been a relief. I also try to take a few hours a month for me time and to do my hobbies. The bad part is I had thought that I was done with the portion of my life where I had roommates. It will also be nice when Jen either gets her nursing job and or gets child support so that Amber and I can stop footing the bill for so much. For all the people that said Jen was going to become our sister wife, or that I was going to cheat of my wife with her, or that she was going to ruin my marriage out of spite, or any of the weird sexual fantasies some of you people had, absolutely nothing has happened. Update 3. Emma, my daughter, is doing great, still doing dance, still loves the zoo, still best friends with Harper. Harper, Jennifer's daughter, is doing good, still my Lego buddy, has gotten into video games, she got a Switch last year, big into Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. I have no idea what the point is to those games, but she must like them. I know way too much about her favorite character Audie. She is not doing dance anymore. Amber is still killing it at work. At this point I might be the gold digger in our relationship. Any guy that does not feel comfortable with their wife being the primary breadwinner, I feel sorry for you. She is still stressed out at home because she has a lot of extra housework that falls upon her because she is the one home because she works from home. She started to run to help relax, and as is typical for her, she excelled at it. Jennifer graduated from nursing school in May. She just passed her NCLEX exam, which I guess is the exam nurses must pass before they can get hired. She said she got a job on a med-surg tele floor. I have no idea what that is, but she sounds excited. Her divorce is done now. It went quick once Deadbeat got his new girlfriend pregnant, good luck to her, and she insisted that they get married. Shockingly, sarcasm alert, Deadbeat still has no interest in seeing Harper. He has seen her maybe 3 or 4 times in the past 2+ years. The exciting news is that Jen and Harper moved out at the start of July. She rented an apartment. So I finally have my house back. The apartment complex has a pool, so Emma is excited for sleepovers. The first sleepover is tentatively scheduled for this weekend. As long as everything is unpacked, I am looking forward to a night of just the wife and I. With everything settled and money for the divorce, Jen has started to pay us back. We refused money, but she paid from Amber and I to go to Disney for a Run Disney event this year. It was fine, but a 10K in Florida is not my idea of fun, but my wife had a good time. Amber wants to get up to a half marathon. She also paid for us all to go to Disney World this summer. Both girls are super excited, they both can wait to meet the princesses, and yes, there will be separate hotel room for them and us. It sucks that Harper's dad has no interest in her. With them moving out, I have been promoted to cool uncle. I think I am fine with that role. I am also looking forward to the Disney trip. I have loved Disney since I was a kid. Stories number 11. Aita for not apologizing for my part in my dad missing the birth of my half-brother. When I, 17M, was 9, my mom died from cancer. 6 months after mom died, my dad met Laura and they moved in together and got married 7 months later. My dad forgot about me in all of this. Before Laura he was depressed all the time and almost never left the couch. Then once he got out there and met her, he focused on marrying her super fast. It made me resentful because I felt like he didn't care about me, just himself. It took him and Laura telling me she was pregnant and me storming out of the house when I was 11 for him to start questioning stuff. He followed me all the way to my uncle's house and asked me why I stormed off and wasn't excited. I ranted at him and took out all my frustration on him in the walk back to the house. He promised he'd do better, but then his focus was on Laura and a new baby, and Laura was about ready to give birth when he told me he hated me pulling away and not being excited and said he'd do anything to fix our relationship. So I told him he needed to give me time where he didn't talk about Laura or the baby or cancel because of one of them. I said he needed to prove he meant what he said. I told him one time wasn't enough either. Our first 2 days weren't great and he answered several calls from Laura. The 3rd time I told him it was his last chance and he ignored a couple of calls before reading a text from her that she was gone into labor. He asked if his 3rd chance would be up if he went to the hospital and I said yes. So he stayed for a while, but then he said I'd need to forgive him at some point and he left me with my grandparents and uncle and got to the hospital, but Laura had given birth by then. Laura hated me for it. I didn't get over it like Dad expected me to, and I saw that our relationship would never be the same and that he wasn't the same person as he was before Mom died. I know losing someone you love does that. I changed when Mom got sick and when she died too. But my dad turned into someone so different. He stopped reading the room and just acted so naive or even dumb. Like when all he would talk about was Laura and the baby, and even when I never engaged he still wouldn't ask if I was okay. And after missing the birth and what we had talked about him bailing on me, he acted like everything was fine. He kept trying to make me hold the baby and would ask me why I wasn't excited and talked about the baby but never addressed the fact I said if he left I wouldn't forgive him, and he left early anyway. He also acted like he had no idea why Laura was so angry at me and why she refused to interact with me after that. He'd say we were a family and that I was the best big brother. He told her he was the happiest he had ever been and he never loved anyone more than her or my half-brother. I was standing right there when he said it, and when I stormed off he played dumb about why that would be. I distanced myself more while Laura wanted me around even less. Then at the end of last year she told Dad to send me to live somewhere else and Dad decided we all needed therapy. We started in March and only Dad talked for months. The therapist would ask me and Laura questions but we didn't answer. She broke first and a month ago she talked about her issues and how angry she was that I had made Dad choose between saving his relationship with me and being there for her and my half-brother when my half-brother was born. She said at some point she had hoped and expected me to be remorseful but I never was and I was the reason Dad missed the birth. The therapist asked why she blamed me instead of Dad and she said because I manipulated Dad to ignore them because I was hurt he'd moved on. It took me a couple more weeks to say anything but when the therapist asked me if I would ever apologize for what happened I said no and when she asked why I said because I didn't feel bad about it. I said that day just showed me that nothing was going to change and Dad wasn't the parent I knew before Mom died. And that I didn't feel bad that he missed the birth. That he was the one who decided when we spent time together. I was just the one who said he couldn't cancel on me a bunch because he was always acting like Laura and the baby were the only two who mattered. Laura told me at 11 I should have known babies need more time and that becoming a parent is exciting and that Dad needed to be there more than he needed to fix things with me. When I refused to apologize she said she did not want me living with her or her kids because she doesn't want them becoming like me or picking on my hatred for her and Dad and my indifference to them. She said I'm almost an adult and should feel guilty and apologize but clearly I'm without a conscience. My dad sat through all of those discussions over 2 weeks and still acted naive and dumb. Commenter 1, NTA. You're a kid, he's the adult, this is entirely on him. Commenter 2, NTA kid but is there a chance to live with your maternal grandparents to get out of that toxic household? Your dad is a dick hoping that sticking his fingers in his ears and screaming la 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 will somehow magically fix the dumpster fire of a marriage. Reply, I don't know about right now but maybe since Laura wants me gone and if I say I want to go it might work. My grandparents always said I could stay with them if I needed to or live with them. Commenter 3, NTA. Laura needs to realize that your dad had a kid and that kid was you long before she was in the picture. Your dad on the other hand should have focused on you instead of dating, moving in and marrying Laura so soon. You are 17 years old and she has no right to tell you that she doesn't want you living with her dad cause you're his responsibility till you turn 18. You were also 11 years old at the time your half-sibling was born so you were a kid at the time. She needs to move on from this. What happened happened and there's no changing it. If anyone should feel guilty about the situation that should be both adults in the picture. Not you. Commenter 4, NT. Laura is a selfish, immature asshole to hold a grudge against a child. She's a shitty person and I'm sorry your dad didn't protect you better. Stories number 12. Aita for locking myself in my office when we have company. I 36F took in my mother during the pandemic after some medical issues. I never made her move out after, it works for us, she has her own bedroom and bathroom. We share other spaces and I work from home most of the time so I can look after her. My stepdad died about a decade ago and she was lonely. It made sense for us. As mentioned I work from home most of the time and a lot of times I'm in some kind of Teams meeting or call, yes even those that could be emails but that's not important. So I don't really have time for chit-chat during office hours. My mom's sister aka my aunt tends to drop by unannounced to visit with my mom. Which I don't really mind. But she had a tendency to step into my office without knocking while I'm working and start talking to me about her neighbor's sister's kid who did blah blah blah. I've more than once explained to her that I'm working or I'm on a call and I can't really chat right now. But she just keeps talking like nothing happened. Today she actually announced to my mom she was coming over. I reminded my mom to tell her I'm working and on calls and can't be disturbed and my mom agreed she would tell her not to bother me. But just to be safe I locked my office door so she couldn't walk in. Despite my mom telling her, she came upstairs and tried to open the door. When it didn't open she started knocking and calling out hello it's me open up. I didn't respond at first as I was on a call with a client but she kept banging on the door so loudly I ended up having to put the client on hold. I told her without opening the door I was on a call and could not talk right now and my aunt left in a huff. Now she's bombarding my mom with texts about how rude I was for locking myself in my office knowing I was having company. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You didn't have company. Your mother did, and it was while you were working. There's nothing to apologize for. Commenter 2, of course NTA. Both your mom and aunt are being rude, irrational and entitled. It's your space, put your foot down and tell your mom that your aunt is not allowed to visit during working hours if she can't be respectful. Update, go to dinner for a few hours, return to Reddit only to find out this has exploded. First of all thank you all for your confirmation that this isn't on me. I did not think I was the asshole, but there's always that hint of doubt where you're like maybe I should have poked my head out and said hello real quick, but the truth was it was a busy day today and I just hadn't had the time. Now for the update, after I finished my workday, I took my mom out for dinner and we discussed the matter. She hadn't responded to any of her sisters, my aunts, texts because she is fully on my side. I know people are asking why my mom didn't stop her. My mom isn't very mobile anymore and my aunt simply got up from her seat and took off upstairs despite my mom's warning. We discussed it over dinner and we agreed that my aunt simply is no longer welcome during office hours, since it's the only way to stop this behavior. Either she can pick up my mom to go to a coffee shop and talk, come after office hours, or come over on the one day I work in office. My aunt seems pretty pissy about it, calling their brother, my uncle, to complain also, but he texted me earlier saying he told her how wrong she was and apparently her husband had also told her she was wrong, so now she's currently stomping her feet at home because everybody is saying she's wrong. Delightful woman she is. Remind me to one day post the story about her Disneyland trip. Anyways, TLDR, mom and I decided she's no longer welcome at my house during office hours. Final update. She has twin boys, and for their birthday she booked a trip to take them and one of their friends out to Disneyland. The friend ended up canceling last minute and told me if I paid the friend's share I could go. Reasonable enough, I figured why not. I was 16 at the time. This story is like 20 years old. I'm European, so this is Disneyland Paris I'm talking about, and I'm not from France, so this is an international trip. This becomes important later. My cousins are maybe 10ish at this point. So anyways, we're in the parks and she has been a menace all trip already, but I'm dealing with it. It's the last day, about 5 hours before we have to take our train back home. International traveling train with customs etc. Like a plane would be, only less boarding time. One of my cousins wants to go on the rock and roll roller coaster, the other one doesn't. The line is like 5 minutes or less, so my aunt tells me to go with him and she'll wait at the exit with our bags. So I leave my bag containing my phone, my ID, my money, everything in her care. 10 minutes later me and my cousin get out of the ride, and she is gone. So I start looking around, cannot find her. After half an hour of waiting, maybe they went to the bathroom or something, still nothing. We go check the bathrooms, neighboring rides, the works, no aunt. I have no phone on me to call her, and with us having to leave for the train in 4 hours I get nervous. I'm a 16-year-old with a 10-year-old at my hand and no money, no ID, no phone, nothing. So I decide to go to the lost kids department and explain my situation. They end up calling her through the park's intercom. Another hour goes by, no aunt. I remember my dad's phone number back home, so I use Disney's landline to call him. He tries calling her cell phone, my cell phone, no response whatsoever. At this point I have like an hour or less before the train leaves and I'm in hystericals because I can't board this train without money or ID, let alone with another minor. My cousin at this point, seeing my panic, is crying his eyes out, so I'm also dealing with a scared child. I'm barely an adult myself. My dad eventually tells me it makes no sense for him to drive out to Paris right now. To go back to our hotel he'll pay for another night and he'll come pick us up in the morning. So I take my cousin back to the hotel, explain the situation, and the receptionist hears me say my name and says, "Oh sweetheart, I have a note for you. It's a note from my aunt. Gone to dinner, see you on the train." At this point I have half an hour to run to the station, hoping we'll still get through customs where she's supposed to be waiting. I make it with 15 minutes to spare. I'm out of breath, and fuming. We end up making it through customs, God only knows how, and manage to get on the train literally as the doors close on us. I call my dad, explain the update, and he is also fuming at this point. To which my aunt turns to me and goes, "I don't know why you're so mad. I left a note at the hotel and I brought you something to eat," and hands me a freaking dinner roll. I took my stuff, went to the dining car with my cousin, who she also almost abandoned, and gave him the biggest slice of chocolate cake my budget could buy, and never came back to our seats to talk to her XD. Final comments. Commenter 1. JFC. She sounds entirely self-absorbed, and to do that to her 10-years-old son. 2. Exploding head. I hope your dad reamed her out when you got back home. I would have booted her so hard she'd need another ticket back from Paris. Reply. My dad knows me pretty well. My aunt was supposed to drive me home from the train station, which is another hour or so. My dad decided after hearing that I made it onto the train and hearing what had happened, it was safer for the lives of everybody involved to make the trip to the train station and pick me up himself. And not lock me into a car with her for another hour. Stories number 13. I'm telling my half-sister I don't care that our dad cheated on her mom with mine, or that her mom's upset and humiliated by all the cheating. This is all one big huge mess, and I don't know if I, 17F, can keep it short, but I'll try. So my parents were married, expecting me, and mom thought happily, when she found out dad was cheating on her with a woman they both knew called Mandy and had gotten her pregnant. She kicked him out and filed for divorce, but had to wait until I was born to get the divorce finalized. Hannah, also 17F now, was born 4 months after me. Custody of me was one big clusterfuck my whole life. Sometimes mom had primary custody, sometimes they shared custody. My parents were always fighting. Mom and Mandy too. Mom hated Mandy and told me from a young age what happened between dad and her. Mandy hated my mom for messing with her job and exposing her as the other woman in a relationship. She told Hannah all that stuff and more. Both my mom and Mandy were arrested for attacking each other. I never liked Mandy. She wanted me to for a little while, I think. But as a young kid I gave her a very hard time for the affair and I told her she was gross and I always compared her to mom to make her feel bad about herself. And any time Hannah saw my mom she'd call her names or spit on the floor. So it's probably not a total surprise me and Hannah never had a good relationship. Until 5 years ago it was just the two of us when Dad and Mandy had 2 more kids through IVF. But I never called her my sister, half or otherwise, and I always said I was an only child. And Hannah would get mad at me for having extended family who spoiled me and did stuff with me while she only really had our dad's side who were never involved. I never loved Hannah ever. I still don't. I don't care about her or feel some kind of sisterly bond that I'd protect her from shit, nope. None of that. And I get more annoyed because we share a room at Dad's house now because of the twins. Whenever I'm at Dad's house we fight like crazy. At school we fight like crazy. She was suspended once for trying to attack me because I called her an affair baby. We're not nice to each other. I don't really like anyone in my family. Even Mom. I feel bad for her but she also chose attacking Dad and Mandy over keeping me away from them, because she had that chance once or twice and instead chose to make their lives miserable. Dad told me I should hate him and Mandy for stuff that happened before I was born but I told him he's the starter of all this and he can't pretend he's innocent now. He admitted to me once that he regretted cheating on Mom and he still loved her. That he was young and dumb and shit like that. Then a month and a half ago Mandy found out Dad cheated on her with my mom a bunch of times in the last 5.5 years, starting during her pregnancy with the twins. I had no idea. Apparently whenever I had a sleepover at my grandparents' house or he was working late when I was at his house, they were hooking up. And he hooked up with a bunch of others too. He's still living with Mandy. He wanted to get back together with Mom but she said no. Mandy's freaking out. Hannah's pissed at me because when Mandy told us and broke down crying I told her it must be so awful to find out your husband cheated while you were pregnant and then said at least he didn't have an affair baby months after you gave birth. Hannah said I didn't need to be a heartless b*tch and I told her it wasn't my job to pity her mom who did the same thing. She said her mom was humiliated by it all and Dad and my mom were the cause. I told her I didn't care about any of that and that I don't care about her mom at all. I said she was looking for the wrong person to feel bad for her. Turned into a big enough fight that Mandy made me leave. I went to Mom's and my grandparents told my parents they were taking me to live with them. Dad's trying to fight that and he's dragged Hannah and the twins along twice to see me and he's trying to make me feel bad for what I said to Hannah. He also wants me to live with them. Hannah said I was blaming the victim and I told her that her mom was no victim in my eyes. My grandparents told Dad to leave and he wasn't to come back but he still calls and because he involved the court and the cops I'm afraid to block him. But he said I should at least apologize to Hannah and try to do better. I don't think he's right. But it looks like Hannah is spiraling or something now so it's clearly getting to her and I don't feel bad for her. But should I? And should I feel bad for what I said? Comment. Commenter 1. NTA for what you said as it's the truth. However, both of your parents failed you. Your dad for cheating and your mum for not getting you away from all that toxic drama. She should have taken the high road and wanted nothing to do with your dad, instead she decided to lower herself by screaming matches and cheating with your dad. Your dad is pathetic and has a weak character. Stay with your grandparents. If you are close to 18, go NC now. By the time it gets to court, you'll already be 18. I would go LC with your mum as well, she's acted no better. Commenter 2. Wow. Talk about kids being completely failed by the adults in their life. Your dad failed you. Your mom failed you. Mandy failed you. Adults have their own baggage. They should never foist it off on their children. Commenter 3. Nta for the comment but all the adults suck here. You and your half-sister should never have been dragged into this mess and forced to choose sides. Your mom and your stepmom are so busy being mad at each other, they let the guy who actually caused this completely skate with no consequences. And he gets to sleep with both of them. Commenter 4. Your anger is justified, you're still young and you shouldn't have been put through all of this mess by the adults in your life. Your dad messed up big time and hurt so many people. Hannah doesn't deserve this either, and she's in a worse situation and she can't even defend her mother. I'm guessing that's why she might be spiraling. She did nothing wrong here and can't be blamed for what her idiotic parents did. If your dad can afford IVF to spawn more kids, he most certainly can afford therapy for the two of you. Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to end being no contact with my sister to help her while she's homeless. I, 27F, was dating Rob, 28M, for over 5 years but ended our relationship last year when I found out he was sleeping with my sister Izzy, 25F. I was pregnant at the time and quickly learned Izzy was too, so I ended my pregnancy. Izzy already knew because Rob had told her, and even though I told her I wanted nothing to do with her and had blocked her everywhere, or so I thought, I missed one account, she told me we needed to stay in touch because our kids would be siblings. When I didn't reply, Rob told me he wanted to be a dad still, and I told him there was no baby anymore and he needed to leave me alone. Izzy told our family what had happened and what I did, and she was absolutely vile about me. My brother Ryan, 22M, showed me screenshots, and the stuff Izzy was saying was infuriating but also just further cemented the whole "I'm done with you forever" part. Izzy tried to get in touch with me once after all of that. She would have been 8 months pregnant. But I blocked her new account and carried on with my life. She was loving with Rob at that time. They broke up since then and Izzy had the baby. Now she's homeless with the baby. But Rob sees the baby, I think. She was in a rental for a while and then a shelter and then I guess another shelter that she didn't feel safe being in. She asked our parents for help and they sent her money and tried to help her find a place, but they couldn't. This is where they tried to bring me in because they want me to step in and help her. We don't live in the same state as our parents and our parents say she's afraid to leave because of custody issues with the baby. I told them I am forever no contact with Izzy and she no longer has a sister to help her. They told me in a real emergency we need to put aside people's bad actions and help. I suggested they keep sending her money to get her on her feet and help her themselves. They've been here visiting so many times and they almost know the town better than I do even after 9 years of living here. Ryan agreed with me and told our parents they should be the ones helping Izzy, not me. They tried to find Rob and make him do something, but he only wants to help the baby. My parents told me I need to help or else who knows what will happen. I refused and then I had to block my parents because they were doing their best to make me feel like a monster for refusing to help, even when I pointed out she called me that and worse over my prior pregnancy. Ryan told me they're still going crazy and they're in the process of trying to move Izzy in with them. But they still believe I should have put the issue aside to help. Stories number 15. My 23F boyfriend, 23M, of 3 years stealthily took my 11-year-old dog to a vet 80 kilometers away to be put to sleep. It was only luck I found out and got him back. BF doesn't know I have my dog back, but he comes back tomorrow night. My BF, Jay, left for a trip up the coast to help family on Friday morning. While I was at work Friday, I got a phone call from one of my ex-flatmates, Bob, who I lived with at uni. He thought he had my dog with him, and phoned me because someone had dropped him off to the vet surgery he worked at to be put to sleep. Bob sent me pics and it was my Stixie. I'd recognize him anywhere. I grew up with him and he was so close to me. When I left home to study there were no questions about it. Stixie stayed with me. Bob kept Stixie with him and I drove to pick him up as soon as I was out of work. Bob also showed me a phone recording he took of the vet's security camera screen, and there's no doubt in the world it's Jay dropping him off. He's even wearing the same clothes he left in this morning before I went to work. Jay has texted me a few times today and I don't know why, but I'm not confronting him about this. I'm actually scared I will utterly lose it at him. I'm running everything through my head on why he'd do this. We talked sometimes about moving north to be near his family, or overseas within a few years. I can't believe I'm trying to find reasons for him to do what he did, or reasons for me to not rip him a new one and dump everything he owns out on the front lawn and set fire to it tonight. I'm half numb and half stunned beyond rational thought. Why can't I get functionally angry here? He texted me this morning like he normally does when he's away. I replied like normal, though we're not big text talkers anyway. He asked me a couple of times if I was okay. Everything in the texts I'm trying to read into what the hell he thinks he's hiding. TLDR, BF dropped my loved dog off to a vet to be put down without telling me. I am utterly infuriated to the point I'm frozen and thinking in circles. What the hell do I do? Can I call the police? Was that illegal? I don't ever want to see him again. I have no family here. I don't know which way to even begin to turn. BF doesn't arrive back until about 7 tomorrow night. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Well, that's terrifying. Do you have a place, a friend's maybe, where you and Stixie can stay for a bit while you get this sorted out? And by this I mean your new living situation. BC, you really can't continue to live with the guy who just tried to kill your dog behind your back. Reply. Thanks for your comment. I do. At least 2 coworkers would be okay with me contacting them. I want people around me when he comes back. I wish I could make sure he knows he's no longer welcome in this home, nor can he come back and he's to go immediately, but I also know by bitter experience with a friend that kicking someone out of the dwelling they live is a long process. NSW, Australia. My BF out of the blue took my beloved old dog to a vet to be put to sleep secretly. Is what he did likely to be massively illegal? What steps can I take to protect myself before he returns tomorrow? Reddit November 26, 2016, same day. I have a dog, Stixie, who's 11. Yesterday morning my BF left to go up the coast to see family. He doesn't return until Sunday night. By sheer luck and nothing else, an ex-flatmate of mine working at a vet clinic 80 kilometers from me called me while I was at work and asked if a dog someone had brought in to be put to sleep was my Stixie. It was. I had him hold Stixie and I collected him Friday. My flatmate showed me a recording he made of security video at the vet clinic and it's definitely my ex dropping Stixie off. How illegal is this? I currently live in a flat that I rent, and my BF pays half but I'm the only one on the lease. I want him out ASAP, or I want to be out of this situation as soon as possible. What options do I not have? A friend of mine once tried to have a violent ex removed and it took months. I want to be out of this immediately. Are my only options to move? How do I protect myself from what my BF, ex to me now though he doesn't know it yet, may do to the place I rent when I return? I presume my landlord couldn't kick him out if I leave right away. He's never shown any weird tendencies before so maybe I'm overthinking this. My BF doesn't know I know what he did nor that I have Stixie back. Sorry for the scattergun of questions. I'm scatterbrained at the moment and he only returns in 20 hours or so and I don't ever want to see so much as a hair on his head again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Not legal advice. Keep your dog somewhere else. If he has access to him, who knows what else will happen. Commenter 2. Seconded. Can you afford to board him or have a trusted family member watch him until this douchebag is gone? And I would call that vet to report what he did if your friend hasn't. It might not help you now but they should be aware. HNG. And then ask where the dog is and see how much he's going to lie about it. OOP added in the comments of the first post. Just got off the phone with my workmate. She's offered to come here overnight and she'll be here soon. We'll figure out what to do in the morning. I really appreciate all your posting. It only took reading a few to take myself out of this stupid stalled state of mind and move into action. It's after midnight here. I'm going to crash hard tonight. Update 1. A night's sleep with good people around me helped. I phoned a workmate to see if I could go stay there with Stixie, and she came over here for the night instead. We spoke, and we have a plan. Thank you for the links to NSW laws, it looks like I might be in the clear with forcing my ex out. I am the renter, I am the only name on the lease, and we had no written agreement. From my understanding he is a boarder or lodger and can be removed quickly. I'll have to clarify of course but that gives me confidence. I was freaking out because I didn't know where to start last night. My ex will be confronted with more people I know in the house backing me up. Stixie is also in good health. He's 11 and a bit too fat and slower than he used to be but he's fine. These photos are from early November when we visited a property out of town. He started life as a farm dog and going back made his day. Update 2. He came back. He lied I was upset and looked it. We gave him enough rope to make excuse after changing excuse. First he was shocked Stixie was gone, and would help look for him. Then he was shocked someone took him to a vet to be put down. Then when confronted with proof it was him, he claimed Stixie was hit by a car and he had to end his suffering. When confronted with a live happy Stixie he turned it around and it ended with him telling me he should have had me put down. My co-worker and her partner and I told him he was not welcome in the house anymore and that they were moving in with me, and everyone in the house, and the neighbor we both get on well with who saw him return on Friday to take Stixie, now knows what kind of person he was. He left of his own accord and took some of his stuff. I'm no closer to knowing for sure why he tried what he did. Sorry for jamming up legal advice with this one, it wasn't much of a legal ending. Stories number 16. My wife cheated on me and I feel nothing. I don't feel anything. My wife of 10 years cheated on me with someone from her past. I didn't go looking for it but I accidentally found out. He cut it off since his wife is pregnant and from the looks of the messages she seems upset. What's so odd is I feel nothing. Not sad or angry, not even hurt. I feel relieved. We haven't been doing good for a while. I attempted to take my life 2 years ago and it just hasn't been the same since. I never thought she would cheat on me. I tried to be better for myself and for her and get myself out of that dark place but I guess it wasn't enough. I'm not gonna confront her but I am gonna leave. Not tonight or tomorrow, I am going to tell her I don't love her anymore. Maybe having both men she loves tell her they're done will humble her. There's no apologies to be given from her, she did what she did and I'm at peace with it. Anyway, I'm gonna build a Lego set and have a beer. Remember you are worth it. You are great. Comments. Commenter. Prior to disclosing your intention of leaving your wife, I humbly suggest that you privately confer with a seasoned family law attorney to discuss your entitlements and alternatives regarding divorce. Educate yourself regarding the divorce process. Focus on yourself and your well-being. Best wishes to you. Stay well. Update. Hello, almost a month ago I posted on here that I found out my wife had cheated and I felt nothing. I thought I would give an update. I confronted her. I said I know she has been sleeping with someone behind my back, I do not want an apology and we're over. I didn't want an explanation or an excuse because there is none. She chose to betray me, she chose to go against our vows and what I believed our marriage stood for. She didn't say much but cry and apologize, but I wouldn't hear it. I also found out who the wife of her AP is and I told her as well and showed the messages pictures I found. Needless to say she is heartbroken and this wasn't the first time he had cheated on her. I ended up leaving and getting an apartment. I took some time off work, built a gaming PC and filed the divorce papers. I still don't feel much in the negative sense but I do feel peace. She has been trying to get me to work things out and I ignore her. That chapter of my life was over the moment she began her affair. Crazy how you think you have everything and life is perfect and now you're sitting alone in your apartment eating takeout and drinking a beer. I think I'm okay with this though. Thank you all for reading and all the nice comments on the original post. I appreciate all of you, remember you are worth it and you are loved. Comments. Commenter 1. This is literally the blueprint on how to handle a cheating partner. Big ups to OP. I know it won't feel like a win and it's not. Everybody has lost something. But he now has peace of mind and heart. Reply. Thank you. I hate drama. I felt like for the sake of myself I needed to exit as smoothly as possible. Commenter 2. Op. Kudos to you, OP. It's been repeatedly said that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. In your instance, when you learn of her repeatedly cheating, you became indifferent. When you see her now, you see nothing. She is now nothing to you. This indifference should be helpful to you emotionally and psychologically going forward. However, if you at some point begin to sense self-doubt, anger, or other bothersome feelings, don't hesitate to seek therapy. You've experienced a traumatic thing. Be kind to yourself. Protect and focus on yourself. Block the whore from your life. One less thing to deal with. Reply. Thank you for your kind words. I'm sure at some point I will feel some hurt pain. I did love her after all. A part of me probably still does, but I am in therapy and we are discussing it. Commenter 3. This is it, my friend. She wants to be with someone else. Go on and go. I wouldn't fight for that shit either. Reply. What the funny thing is her AP broke up with her so now she has no one. Stories number 17. I dumped my girlfriend because she made a test Instagram story and I failed. I, 26M, broke up with my girlfriend of 9 months yesterday because I'm apparently supposed to treat her Instagram like a job interview. She posted a black screen to her story with the caption "Some people really disappoint you LOL." No context. No explanation. Just that, so I ignored it. Because I'm not a mind reader and I'm not going to play high school games. I assumed it was about one of her friends or just her being passive-aggressive about work or whatever. Well, apparently that was a test. She told me I failed because I didn't message her right away asking what was wrong. She said it showed I don't care enough to check in. I told her I don't check Instagram every 5 minutes and if she has a problem with me she should act like an adult and talk to me instead of fishing for attention through vague stories. She said I was being cold and emotionally unavailable. I said she was being manipulative and immature. She cried. I packed my stuff. She's still messaging me telling me I'm heartless for leaving over one small thing. But it's not one small thing. It's the million little red flags I've ignored for too long. The tests. The mood swings. The social media drama. I'm not dating a puzzle I have to solve daily just to avoid a tantrum. I want peace. Not stories written in invisible ink that I'm expected to decode while she sits there with her arms crossed waiting to see if I love her enough to notice. Done, blocked, logged out. I feel like I can breathe again. Comment. Commenter 1. I think testing in relationships are a deal breaker. It automatically shows a lack of trust. Reply. I agree, it's such a childish thing. This will be a deal breaker for me from now on. Commenter 2. You've passed a far more important test. Forward always. Reply. I think this is the best reward I have ever got from passing a test. Freedom from a life of BS. Commenter 3. Good for you for knowing your worth. She was being attention-seeking and you handled it maturely. Posting vague statuses for attention is draining on everyone around. Reply. 100% life is too short for that shit. Commenter 4. The ironic truth is she failed the test. The communication test. If she had an issue or was upset about something she should tell you directly and not play games. Reply. I wonder if she will ever work this out, something tells me that she won't. Commenter 5. My husband and I have been married for 16 years. The most we ever test each other is those little IG videos of what would your BFGF pick out of these things. Stories number 18. AITH for locking my mother-in-law out of the house after she kept showing up uninvited at night. So for the past few months, my mother-in-law has made it a habit to randomly show up at our house uninvited, and I'm not talking daytime visits. I mean late night knock on your door when you're in your PJs kind of visits. The most ridiculous one was about 2 weeks ago. She showed up at 9:15 p.m., I let her in. 15 minutes later she went to the kitchen and said, "So there's no cooked pasta in this house?" I am hungry. I was shocked but tried to be respectful and told her nicely that we weren't expecting guests and had already eaten. She scoffed, just full-on attitude because I didn't have her preferred dinner ready. Another time, around 9:30 p.m., she came again, no warning, no heads up. I had just put the kids to sleep, and I was trying to wind down. I opened the door and told her she really needs to call before coming over, especially this late. She cut me off and said, "I'm not a stranger in this house." Like that's an excuse to show up whenever she feels like it. I have had enough. I spoke to my husband multiple times, and he keeps saying, "That's just how she is." Cool, but that's not how I am, and this is my home too. So yesterday, she pulled up again, around 8:50 p.m. I saw her through the window and didn't even bother opening the door. I locked it, turned off the living room lights, and let her knock. After 10 minutes of knocking, she called my husband, who was out at the time. He asked me why I wasn't letting her in, and I told him flat out, "Your mom isn't coming in tonight. I've talked to her. I've talked to you. Boundaries are not optional." Now she's playing the victim, telling family I locked her out in the cold. It was 26 degrees Celsius outside and she has her own damn house 10 minutes away. Commenter 1. That's how you do it. What the heck is wrong with your husband? Commenter 2. What's wrong with hubby is he's a mama's boy who prefers to piss off his wife than his mother. His wife will come around. But he doesn't know what mommy will do, and he's scared she'll stop talking to him, and he needs his mommy. I will never understand how these spineless men convince women to marry them. Commenter 3. Reading these stories makes me so happy that when it came time to meet parents, my husband said to me my mother is crazy. Don't take her shit and I'll always back you up, because I could not imagine and would not deal with someone who let their mother trample all over our marriage and my boundaries like that. Commenter 4. That's just how she is. Oh boy, my husband used to say that about his mother. It was very hard on our marriage for a while. Because he always thought that it was easier to let her have her way or she would make life more difficult. But it always negated everything I thought and felt. We didn't feel like a team. It took a long time to get past that. We're in a much better place now, but we have virtually no contact with her anymore. You aren't the but you're going to be made to feel like it. Reply. She would act unreasonable until play the victim, so dramatic. Commenter 5. For the past few months, is this new behavior, and is it unexplained, or triggered by known causes? Perhaps she is recently retired, widowed, or moved closer. A symptom of dementia is night terrors. Edit. Correction, I was thinking of sundowning, where someone with dementia becomes restless, frightened or agitated in the evenings. A symptom of heart failure can be erratic new behavior caused by lack of oxygen to the brain. It may be time for Mael to get a thorough health check. NTA of course. Reply. She is mentally okay, nothing is wrong with her, she is just being entitled. Stories number 19. My sister wants my husband to provide free transportation for all her wedding guests. My sister is getting married soon. I was at her place helping with some wedding prep when she suddenly says, "I want to announce free transportation for all my wedding guests, to make it look classy." I was like, okay, that's nice, but how are you pulling that off? She says, "Since your husband owns a transportation business and has a few cars, it'll be easy for him to handle." I said, "Alright, he will be here soon to pick me up when he comes, you guys can talk and maybe bargain the price." She cuts me off and goes, "No, I don't want to pay. I mean, I want him to offer it for free to my guests." I just looked at her. Then she adds, "You can talk to him, he'll accept. He listens to you." I then asked her, why then do you want to promise free services to people when you're not the one providing them? She said, "I have rich friends I invited for the wedding and you know what that means, I want to make it look so classic, you can talk to him about it." I told her straight out I'm not going to convince my husband to pause his business, offer up his cars, fuel, drivers, and time all for free just so you can look good in front of her rich friends. She said I'm not being supportive to her. Commenter 1. I would tell Bridezilla that NO is a complete sentence. Commenter 2. I would ask her if she's paying the other vendors, because at this point, she wants your husband to work at her wedding. She's being utterly ridiculous. Reply. Like seriously, she sounded so unreasonable. Commenter 3. The entitlement is eye-watering in this case. I'm glad you stood up for your husband and his business. Where did she think the money to pay salaries would come from? not to mention loss of income from all the vehicles being out of commission. Reply: her entitlement didn't let her think about that. Imagine closing down my husband's business for a full day just for free. Commenter 4. It's not up to your or your husband to bear the cost to make her look good in front of her so-called rich friends. If she wants to do that, she can pay for it. Stories number 20. Aita for canceling my niece's birthday cake last minute because my sister refused to pay me back. My 29F sister asked me 33F for help planning her daughter's, my niece, 8F, birthday party. I agreed. I even offered to help her book a clown, some outdoor games, and order the birthday cake from a popular bakery in town that gets fully booked weeks in advance. When it came to the cake, she picked a custom design that cost $170. It was 3 tiers, themed, with edible glitter, etc. She pleaded if I can pay up front that she will pay me back by the end of the week. I agreed. Well, the week came and went, no payment. I reminded her again and she just laughed it off, saying things were tight and she would settle up eventually. I reminded her again the next day, and she said, "You are her aunt, you should be happy to do this. It's not like you have kids or any real responsibilities." That comment really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't have kids, but I do have bills and a life, and I'm not her personal wallet. So the day before the party, I called the bakery and canceled the order. They were understanding, but said they would keep a $20 cancellation fee, which I was fine with. The day of the party, my sister was freaking out, asking where the cake was, and I calmly told her, "I canceled it. I'm not funding your party after you disrespected me and refused to pay me back." She called me selfish, said I embarrassed her in front of her in-laws, and that my niece cried because she had no cake. I ended up leaving the party early. Now my family is divided. My mom says I went too far and should have just brought the cake for the child's sake. My dad says my sister is irresponsible and uses people. Stories number 21. Aita for telling my dad to pay for his own holidays. My 25F, dad, 64M, has always favored my brother, 29M, which has been clear in how he supports him and celebrates his successes. I could go on for days with many examples, but here's a pretty big one. When my brother gets good news, my dad gets emotional and often teary-eyed. In contrast, when I graduated university and hosted my dad abroad, he whispered to my mom that he regretted coming and he wished he stayed home because he thought the dinner was too expensive, $150 for 5 people, our bed was uncomfortable, and our fridge smelled of kimchi. That comment really stung, especially because he didn't even say this to me directly, rather I overheard him as I was about to fall asleep. This was at night. I was on the couch in the other room as I gave my parents our double bed. For context, my brother is lazy and only got his current job with help from my parents, while I moved out at 21, built an independent life, and never asked for financial help. Now, as I'm working on a business with my partner, my dad said, "If you ever want to gift us a holiday or a car, don't feel like you need to spend too much money." He often assumes we'll pay for him. Aita for telling him, "You can pay for your own holiday, you've got a job." Stories number 22. Aita for deciding to go no contact with my fiancé's family, despite attempts at reconciliation. I, 27F, am engaged to my fiancé, 29M. We had been close friends for 3 years before becoming a couple. Once we got together, we were inseparable. After about 2 months of dating, we fell in love and decided to start a family. I know it was quick and may seem impulsive, but it genuinely felt like one of those when you know moments. I had only met his mom a couple of times before getting pregnant, and we never really connected. She didn't make much effort to get to know me. His sister, on the other hand, seemed nice at first. But over time, things got complicated. When our first baby was born, I didn't have any boundaries in place. I was just excited and wanted everyone to be a part of the baby's life. His mom visited shortly after, but the visit was incredibly awkward. My mom, who lived with us at the time, went back to work, and I was left trying to make conversation with a woman who barely engaged. His sister asked when we'd come down to their hometown, 2 hours away, so she could meet the baby. I was annoyed. When she had her baby, we went out of our way to visit, and I couldn't imagine asking a brand new mom to travel. Later, I found out she and their mom had already been up a couple of times but just didn't stop by. That stung. Fast forward, they came up a few more times and never visited. Yet when we didn't stop by once while we were in town, it sparked a fight. His sister brought up a list of grievances from the past year, mostly about our gender reveal and baby shower, accusing my family of judging them even though my family was the one hosting and didn't even have time to sit down. His mom called me to clear the air, but ended up talking over me, telling me I needed new friends, and half-heartedly saying the judging might have been a misunderstanding. His sister then told me to make my family change. After that, I didn't speak to her for a while. Eventually, she apologized, but it felt forced. My fiancé had begged her to do it. From there, our relationship became distant. We had another pregnancy that ended in miscarriage. 4 months later, I was pregnant again. We told my family first, then his sister, and finally his mom. I posted the ultrasound in a group chat thinking everyone had been told, but his brother hadn't, and it turned into a whole fight. His sister said it was unfair that we told my family first. Later, I posted something general about how if people don't check in on my kid, I won't be putting effort in either. She claimed it was directed at her, it wasn't, and launched into another fight. She and their mom brought up more issues from the past year. They claimed I never thanked their mom for gifts, even though I have texts, calls, and video chats to prove otherwise. One example, a Valentine's gift I forgot to acknowledge for a few days because I was deep in first trimester sickness. I called his mom to address things. She ended up screaming at me. I started crying so she finally stopped. She accused me of being the reason her son doesn't call her, of tearing their family apart, and more. It was awful. When our second baby was born, I set clearer boundaries, no hospital visits except my mom and sister, who were my support system. His mom kept calling to ask if she could come anyway. My fiancé told her to just call and offer to bring flowers. This upset me, as it put me on the spot. She ended up not coming, but was very clearly upset about it. 3 days after our baby was born, my dad passed away. While grieving and postpartum, we had to travel for the funeral. His mom and sister said they'd attend, but I suspected it was to see the baby. Afterward, his mom asked if we could stop by, but we declined. We were emotionally and physically drained. They were so mad about this. She visited a few weeks later. My mom was over, and after she left to go next door, his mom abruptly said she had to leave too, didn't say bye to the kids and slammed the door. My fiancé followed and she exploded, saying she was upset she couldn't kiss the kids. We had a no kissing rule due to illness season. She told him my mom kissed the baby and no one cared. My mom denied this and respected the rule, and the only person that seemed to see this was his mom. Then came another meltdown. His sister got involved, twisting words and making claims. I sent a long apology a week later, hoping to smooth things over, but got more blame in return. Along with a lot of lies saying things I said that just never happened. I was completely baffled. Eventually, we cut contact. She posted a passive-aggressive rant about me on a local mom group. Everyone knew it was about me. It was either complete lies or so much that was twisted to make me look bad. I responded with facts on my page, but there were too many lies to untangle. His mom called from his brother's phone and screamed at me, calling me AC*NT, along with many other names. My fiancé hung up, she called back, and he blew up at her too. We went full no contact. A year later, his sister ran into him and cried, saying she wanted to apologize. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, as it seemed sincere. But recently, she's gone back to being passive-aggressive, excluding me from posts, photos that I was a part of, lost our very high streak out of nowhere. I get these are small things, but this is exactly how it started the first few times this happened. I just don't want to do this all over again, so I want to cut it at the small things before they get big again. And now saying I'm being fake because I'm keeping their mom at arm's length. She texted me upset that our 3-year-old napped during her kid's birthday and that she didn't get to see him long, but I woke him up thinking we had at least an hour and a half left for him to play, only to find out we had 45 minutes left, due to the pool needing to be closed that day. Also, that she heard I said I don't like their mom, and never intend having a relationship with her. This was true, I did say this. Mind you, we've seen her 3 times in 7 months. She claims she's been putting in effort, we don't agree. With little to no calls, texts, or anything asking about the kids. She asked us to go to a barbecue not even 48 hours away when we don't live nearby, not calling on our son's birthday, but she showed up to the party. She left the pool without even saying bye to her son or grandkids. These things don't even feel like the bare minimum at this point. Maybe we're just comparing this to my side where my mom is consistently calling her grandkids, visiting randomly, and showing up to everything, but even calling once a month would feel like effort at this point. My fiancé is going to talk to her, but honestly, even if it ends on good terms, I'm done. The emotional toll has been too high, and I'm not willing to keep repeating the same cycle. Aita for finally cutting ties and refusing to rekindle any relationship with his family, even after apologies. Update, Aita for deciding to go no contact with my fiancé's family, despite attempts of reconciliation. I went ahead and linked the first post here, so if you haven't read that, go ahead and read it before this. To answer some questions, his mom and sister have managed to make me feel insane. That's why we have kept going back. I definitely think they're really good at manipulating and guilt-tripping as some of you have said. We're your family no matter what, you don't just cut off blood. Also his sister telling her kids that we just don't want to go see them and that's why we stopped coming. At the end of the day it's hard because of the kids. We love them so much, but also feel exhausted from his mom and sister. They constantly say things to him like I'm your mom, I have raised you, and done so much for you, I can't believe you would treat me this way, or I'm your sister and you've been my closest brother for all my life, especially our adult lives, it hurts that you won't talk to me now because of her. His sister has called me a narcissist, that I've brainwashed him and she hopes I don't brainwash her nephews too. Has told me that I'm keeping her brother and nephews from her and it's unfair. I actually started to believe these things and it resulted in going to therapy where I was telling my therapists that I need fixed because I'm all these things. I had to completely rewire myself to stop believing those, and it took months of my therapists telling me that I'm not those things. It took me reading all the messages to her between all of us and she continued to tell me that she was actually baffled by what they would say to me. His sister is so much younger than us, I gave her the benefit of the doubt and thought she would mature, but I'm starting to think all she did was take a chapter out of her mom's book. She is an only girl out of 4 kids and has had a problem with all of her sister-in-laws at some point. One of her other sister-in-laws moved a couple hours away too and feels so much better about it, partially because of this along with other things in her life. And another sister-in-law and I reconnected a few days ago after running into each other only to find out she has been treated and feels the same way, to the point she also doesn't engage with them. Now for the real update. She had texted me again only a few hours later mad I hadn't responded, then again the next day saying I have made myself crystal clear by not responding that I would be mad if she was saying this about my mom. To be fair, she has also said a lot of lies about my mom, and that was the biggest reason I said something and was upset. However, I've just simply said I don't like her mom and don't want a relationship with her, so while she thinks it's talking shit, I think it's just telling how I feel. I'm curious on others' opinions on that. My fiancé called her right after the 3rd text saying how he feels, that he doesn't think his mom has tried at all. She was very upset, named 3 times in the 7 months she has tried, showing up to a birthday party, inviting us to a barbecue, and flowers on my birthday. He mentioned to her that was an effort. They went back and forth for a while, because she kept saying that we don't give their mom a chance, that it's unfair, we'll always hold her at arm's length. My fiancé brought up things in the past prior to us, that made them stop having a relationship. At some point I did say something, so she asked me directly why she was hearing that I said those things. I told her because I did. She said she didn't want a relationship with me if I'm going to talk about her mom like that. I said okay, that's fine, we don't need to have one. She went off to me about the attempts of effort. My response was 7 months of performative behavior doesn't erase years of disrespect. She was speechless and asked when I was going to stop bringing up the past, so I told her when it stops repeating itself, otherwise it's not in the past. I also told her that if she wants to put in effort to call once or twice a month, to show up on a random day to hang out with her grandkids. She asked what I expected. I said to show up on Saturday when she doesn't work. She then proceeded to tell me that I need to move on because they apologized, but to me an apology is only as good as the change behind it. She tried telling me my past is repeating too by talking shit. I let her know that I wasn't talking shit, I was saying how I felt. She said that I'm being fake by making their mom think we're all good. I asked how if I only ever say hi and bye to her when I see her. She said exactly, my mom said you won't engage in conversation with her. That seemed a little contradicting to me, and sounds like she agrees I'm not being fake. In the past it was the same thing. My reaction to their disrespect is always met with me talking shit, but I feel like I just vent, say the facts of what is said, done and how it feels. I constantly want to explain myself to them, but I know no matter what I say they will continue to feel the way they do and it's not worth it. She also tried throwing other people under the bus for saying things about me to her, so I asked these people and they all confirmed she either twisted what they said, misunderstood them, or that they didn't even mention anything like that at all. She did try calling my fiancé again saying she didn't want to fight and that they both love all of us so much, but he didn't say anything and hasn't spoke to her since. Moving forward I will definitely be removing myself completely and letting him decide what he wants to do with his time when it comes to them. I'm very secure in my relationship, I know he will never let them talk poorly on me, and so I'm just going to move on from it all so that I can keep my peace, not theirs. I did remove his sister from all social media as well. Stories number 23. I'm 26F, living with my 11-year-old brother who moved in with me last year after our parents got divorced. Truthfully, it's been amazing. I'm happy to answer any cues people have about our life together. I'm 26 and my little brother is 11. He and I have always been incredibly close. He's an old soul and insanely mature for his age, and we've just always been on same wavelength. Last year, after decades of turmoil, our parents finally made the right decision and got divorced. It came as a huge relief to me and my brother, but it also raised the issue of who he would live with. We all agreed that it made the most sense for him to come live with me, so he wouldn't have to be dragged out of state with either one of our parents, and we could stay together as brother and sister in the city we've always lived in. Like I said, he and I have always been really close, but having lived on my own for so long, I honestly had no idea what to expect. Now, a year later, I can honestly say it's been wonderful. Our postage stamp apartment is tiny, but it's home. He's my favorite person in the world and I love him so much. Whatever you'd like to know about our life together, ask. Comment. Commenter 1. You did what most adults wouldn't dare and became a soft place to land in a world that failed both of you. Keep choosing love over chaos because what you're giving him now will shape the man he becomes forever. Reply. Thank you so much. We have a good life together, I love being his big sister. Commenter 2. I got full custody of my nephews when they were 5 and 7. I honestly couldn't believe it went as smooth as it did because I was kinda young and had been in some trouble before. The same judge that sentenced me on a weed case was the same judge that approved me taking custody of them. They both started college recently with one of them in the Navy. Nothing will ever be as fulfilling as breaking a negative cycle in the family. Enjoy every minute you can because that kid will be 20 in what will feel like a week. Goes way too damn quick. Reply. This is lovely, good for you. And thank you. Commenter 3. Do you still feel like big sister or are you starting to feel more like a mom? How do you foresee handling changes as he gets older? Reply. Honestly, my brother is so mature that I never feel like a parent, just his cool big sister. We'll see what the future holds, but I'm not too worried. Commenter 4. People will say you have to be a parent not a friend. But I felt like you do. My son was very mature, made good decisions. I very rarely had to redirect him. He went through a very traumatic incident with his mom, then a fairly bitter divorce, so he hasn't had some easy golden spoon life. He was straight A's HS and Barrett Honors College at ASU, graduating in 3 years double major econ poli-sci. Interning at mid-size company, was selected for him to present his intern project to the CEO. Won an ASU economics short paper competition, and his paper on income inequality is being published. He's 20. Your brother sounds like he's on this type of path. You just have to be there if he starts down a different path. Unless and until he needs it, there's no need to overparent. What you are doing is awesome, admirable, and kind and generous of you. All the best. Reply. Your son sounds so much like my brother. Thank you for sharing your story. Yeah, there's no need to overdo it with Noah, he's just absurdly mature and absolutely brilliant, he already reads and writes at a college level. Commenter 5. OMG, if this was on FB I would tag wait a second, this is wholesome content. My freaking heart. You have gone above and beyond for your brother. I also have a brother, 34M, and I, 32F, have always been extremely close. It warms my heart to read about another brother-sister relationship. W as much love as the relationship I have. You're doing amazing. Keep it up. Stories number 24. Why won't this pregnant lady lift me up? I'm 9 months pregnant and 2 weeks away from my due date. I take a daily walk for exercise and on today's walk, I saw 2 men on the footpath across from me. One, who was elderly, had fallen and his son, also not that young, was trying to help him up. They had one of those stroller things that's not quite a wheelchair, but has a little seat thing. I called out if they needed help and crossed the street. I tried to help the son hoist his father up, but the father was deadweight and couldn't assist in any way. I also have no experience in lifting people and the son probably didn't either, so we were not getting anywhere. The son kept suggesting new ways to try, but after a few tries, I said that being 9 months pregnant, I wasn't sure how effective I would be. The son and father got snarky and said something like, "This will be over soon if you just help us." I offered to knock on doors for help and the son shut down the idea and continued to give me directions. His directions kinda pissed me off because it was like, just do this, blah blah. I said that if they don't want to ask neighbors, they could possibly call the ambulance, free not expensive if you have a membership in my country. The dad made a TSK sound at me, looked at his son and asked, "Why isn't she helping us?" Eventually, a random car drove past and I flagged it down like a mad woman. Turns out it was someone from a nearby house, so he came back with his sons and got it sorted. It was just a very awkward encounter. Stories number 25. My roommate said I should forfeit the rent I covered for her because I got promoted. I 25F have been living with my roommate 26F for 2 years now. We've generally had a peaceful arrangement, split the rent, share utilities, and go about our lives. Things were okay until our most recent rent was due. She told me she was having financial problems and begged me to help her cover her part of the rent, promising to pay me back within a few weeks. I agreed, mostly out of trust and the fact that we work in the same organization, so I didn't think it would be an issue. Fast forward a couple weeks later, I got a promotion at work. It's a small step up, but I was excited. That same evening, when I got home, she congratulated me and said, "Wow, I'm very happy for your promotion. At least now that you earn higher, you won't come asking me about the money. You can now forfeit it." I laughed awkwardly because I honestly thought she was joking. Who says that? But I didn't want to make a scene, so I brushed it off. Until last week, when I reminded her that the agreed repayment time had passed. Her response: "Common girl, you are now bigger than that. You should let it go. After all, you got promoted and you earn more." I didn't. I simply told her either I get my money, or I get the police involved. Your choice. She said, "You just too mean." 2 days later, she paid. Stories number 26. AIO for refusing to let my husband's friend sleep on our couch after what he said to me. My husband, 31M, and I, 29F, have been married 2 years. Last weekend, one of his old college buddies came into town and asked if he could crash at our place for a few nights. I was fine with it until dinner that night. While my husband stepped out to grab something from the car, his friend leaned over and said, "You know, you're a lot prettier than the photos he showed me. Too bad you settled for him." Then he winked. I was stunned but didn't say anything in the moment. Later, when my husband came back, I pulled him aside and told him what happened. His friend denied it and said I misheard. I told my husband I didn't want him staying here after that. My husband said he agreed it was inappropriate, but since he already promised his buddy a place to stay, could we just keep the peace for the weekend? I said no and told his friend to find a hotel. My husband is annoyed and says I overreacted and made it awkward. Did I go too far? Stories number 27. AITA because I don't want to give money back to my film after he took my daughter on a trip and she destroyed his car. A bit of context: my daughter, 6, is very easily overstimulated. We are currently in the process of getting a diagnosis. For this reason, I try to keep my daughter away from MIL and FIL. They don't understand and are both those people who are always everywhere and often go on spontaneous trips that last for hours, a nightmare for my daughter. Recently, however, when I returned home, my daughter was gone. I asked my husband about it. He said his father had arrived and decided to take Daisy on a little trip. I asked him when they left, and he said about 3 hours ago. After that, I tried contacting my FIL several times, but he didn't answer. He returned 3 hours later. He was furious, and Daisy was crying. According to him, Daisy was grumpy and spoiled throughout the entire trip, completely ruining his plans, and when he wanted to take her to another place, she threw her drink and spilled it in the car. Then she started crying that the car smelled like hot apple juice and vomited. I was already pissed off, and if not my husband, I think I could have torn my FIL apart, but the next day FIL called me, demanding money for the damages and all the things he bought Daisy, and which we didn't even end up getting. He thinks it's fair because he wanted to do something nice. I, of course, believe that he had no right to take Daisy at all and that he should not receive any money, but my husband, on the other hand, thinks that we should pay to keep the peace. In his opinion, I'm too mean to his parents and only make it harder for everyone to have a good relationship. Stories number 28. My boss said my dead family member wasn't worth losing a shift over, so I walked out and I've never felt lighter. Someone in my family passed away suddenly the other night. I'm not going to get into the details, but it hit hard and completely knocked the air out of me. I texted my boss that night to let him know I wouldn't be coming in the next day. I wasn't in any shape to work, let alone fake a smile and deal with customers. Next morning, I wake up to a text from him, "Where are you? No, sorry for your loss, no, are you okay, just straight to why aren't you here?" I reminded him I texted last night, that I had a death in the family and needed the day. He replied, "That's not a valid excuse for a no-show." I told him again. "Someone died. I'm grieving. I'm supporting my family. I can't even think straight." His response: "We've all lost people. That doesn't mean you get to bail every time life gets hard." I was already pissed, but he kept going. He said I was being dramatic and causing problems for the rest of the team. He actually told me, "You can cry at home and keep it together for a few hours." And then, the part that made me completely snap, he said this, word for word: "If they weren't close enough to plan ahead for, they probably weren't worth losing a shift over." I just stared at the screen. I couldn't believe what I was reading. This man actually said a human being's death wasn't worth calling out of a shift for. I told him to go F*** himself, that I quit, and that I hoped the store implodes under the weight of how little they care about people. Then I turned off my phone and walked away. I don't care what anyone thinks. I was making barely more than minimum wage. I covered shifts. I worked late. I showed up every time they needed me. And this is how they treated me when I needed one single day to breathe. No job is worth being treated like this. TLDR, I had a sudden death in the family and told my boss I couldn't come in. He said that wasn't a valid excuse, accused me of being dramatic, and told me the person probably wasn't worth losing a shift over. I quit immediately. No job is worth this kind of disrespect. I'm so fucking sick of this capitalist bullshit. Stories number 29. He told me I'm not wife material but still wants to date me like it's no big deal. How am I supposed to be okay with that? I, 27F, have been dating this guy, 29M, for the past 8 months. Things started off really fun and easy, we clicked right away, had great chemistry, and he made a big deal early on about how refreshing I was compared to his exes. We go out a lot, have a solid friend group overlap, and for the most part, I felt secure and appreciated. Recently though, I started thinking about where this was going. I'm not saying I need a ring right this second, but at this point in my life, I'm dating with the hope of something long-term. So I brought it up, not in a dramatic "what are we" kind of way, just gently asked if we were on the same page. That's when he hit me with, "I'm just not sure you're wife material, but I still want to be with you." My stomach literally dropped. I asked him what that even meant, and he said I'm fun, cool, and sexy but doesn't really know if I'm the kind of person he'd marry. He tried to soften it by saying he loves what we have right now and wants to keep things going, but I was just stunned. I can't stop thinking about it. It's like he sees me as someone to pass the time with until something better comes along. I didn't get mad or yell, I just shut down. And since then, he's been acting like everything's normal. Still texting me, still making plans, like that conversation never happened. But I can't unhear it. I feel like I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, or worse, wasting my time on someone who already told me I'm not it. I've always tried to be low drama and go with the flow, but this hit me hard. I don't know if I'm overreacting, being too sensitive, or if I should take this as a red flag and cut things off now before I get more attached. I haven't even told my friends yet because I already know they'll say dump him, and I guess part of me doesn't want to believe he meant it the way it sounded. But, how else am I supposed to take it? Has anyone else been in a similar situation? I just feel so confused and a little humiliated, to be honest. How do I keep dating someone who already decided I'm not long-term material? I'd really appreciate any honest advice. Stories number 30. MIL vs DL over a cake knife and it turned into a full-blown meltdown. Observer drama. This happened at my cousin's wedding last weekend, and I still can't believe it escalated the way it did. Everything was running smoothly, the ceremony was sweet, dinner was on time, and we all thought we'd made it to the drama-free zone. That is, until it was time for the cake cutting. Turns out, the bride, DL, had picked out this vintage cake knife that belonged to her grandmother, super sentimental, matched the theme perfectly. But MIL insisted they use the family knife from her side instead. It's been used in every wedding on their side for 30+ years. The bride gently said no and explained why she wanted her grandmother's knife. MIL didn't take it well. She walked up during the cake cutting and tried to swap the knives mid-photo. The groom looked like he wanted to disappear. Bride held her ground, but the energy was so tense you could feel it across the room. Later, MIL was crying to guests about being disrespected. The bride and groom left early. The kicker. The knives looked identical. Literally. Just 2 silver cake knives. All that over tradition and control. Weddings do bring out people's inner theater, huh? Stories number 31. The only time my sister ever lied to me, and why I'm grateful she did. My sister has always been brutally honest. The kind of person who'll tell you your breath smells before a date, or that your funny story was just awkward and long. So when she lied to me, I knew it wasn't casual. It was my last year of college. I was broke, overwhelmed, and one missed deadline away from flunking a major course. I hadn't told anyone, not even her, but I was ready to drop out. I was packing up my stuff one night, I hadn't eaten, hadn't slept, and suddenly she showed up. With coffee. I didn't even ask how she got in. She just handed it to me and said, "Hey, I was in the neighborhood. We live 3 cities apart." I gave her a look, and she cracked first. "Okay," she admitted. "I got a weird feeling, so I called your roommate. She said you hadn't left your room in 3 days." I felt exposed, embarrassed. Then she said, "Remember when you told me that your life doesn't need fixing, just a little buffering?" I nodded. She pulled out a USB drive. "This is every paper you've written that I could find on your laptop. I formatted them into a portfolio. You're gonna send this to your professor and ask for an extension. And if they say no, I'll help you find another school that'll be lucky to have you." I started crying before she even finished. She stayed the night. Cooked pasta. Made me shower. Watched me hit send on that email. I passed. Barely. But I did. It wasn't until much later that I realized, she lied when she said she was in the neighborhood. She drove 5 hours, during a workweek, on 0 notice. She knew I'd never ask for help. So she didn't wait for me to. That's the only lie she's ever told me, and it saved me. Stories number 32. Aita for asking my boyfriend to unpack my entire apartment after he told me I could move in and then changed his mind. So a while ago, my boyfriend and I had been discussing moving in together. I asked him multiple times over the course of a month if I could actually move in, and every time he told me yes, that it was fine, that he wanted me there, and that it was happening. I took him at his word, packed up my entire apartment, arranged everything for the move, and even told my landlord I was leaving. Then, right before move-in, he changed his mind. He backed out and basically said he didn't think it was the right time anymore. No big fight, no warning, just, never mind. It was obviously emotionally upsetting, and also really frustrating logistically. I had already packed everything, planned around it, and felt blindsided. I've since moved into a different place, but I've been feeling really drained and overwhelmed unpacking everything by myself. Now he and I are on okay terms again, and he's offered to help me unpack. But I'm honestly thinking of just letting him do all of it. Not out of pettiness, but because I already did all the packing and emotional labor, and I feel like it's fair. He made a mess, and I had to carry it, so why shouldn't he physically carry the rest? A few friends say it's kind of petty and I should just do it myself and move on. Others think it's totally justified. But we still are in a relationship, had a brief breakup, then got back together, and I think this is more than fair. So, Aita for wanting him to unpack my entire apartment since he's the reason I had to pack it in the first place. He was the one who initiated the move-in. Told me to live with him rent-free. He seemed hesitant at points, so I asked, "Are you sure you're ready? I need to know, if not so I can renew my lease." Each time he insisted yes. I was giving him many outs and it wasn't my idea in the first place. Stories number 33. Aita for not helping my cheating pregnant ex-wife when she fell in front of our daughter. I, 38M, have a daughter who's 15. Her mom and I divorced 3 years ago. I really loved her, but she initiated the divorce because she said she'd fallen out of love with me, and she admitted to having feelings for one of her close friends. It mentally traumatized me for a while, but therapy helped me move on. She was very apologetic about everything, but I was just done with her after the divorce. We've since maintained a stable co-parenting relationship for our daughter's sake. She's now remarried to her affair partner and currently pregnant. Last week, I was dropping my daughter off for her scheduled time at her mom's place. As my ex was coming out of the house, she tripped on something and fell pretty badly. It was really scary considering she's a few months pregnant, and my daughter was immediately panicked and rushed to her. She asked me to come out and help, but honestly, I didn't really care. I just told her to call her stepdad and then I left. It might sound harsh, but in my mind, it wasn't my responsibility anymore. Anyway, when my daughter came home last night, she seemed really sad. I asked her if the baby was going to be okay, and she said yes, but then she told me that what I did last week was the cruelest thing she's ever seen anyone do. She cried again and went up to her room. I do feel guilty about my daughter crying, but I don't feel guilty about what I did. Stories number 34. Aita for yelling at my brother late at night when he came into my room to ask for my suitcase. I, 25F, live at home with my family. My younger brother, 21M, is going on a trip to Japan. About a week ago, he asked if we had any big suitcases. We do. 2 older family ones and one that belongs to me personally. I bought mine myself for nearly €200, and I told him up front I didn't want him to take it. I'm also going on a trip soon, and he's not known for treating things with care. Not even his own stuff. I was clear, please don't take mine. Last night around 11:30 p.m., the night before he flies, he starts packing and apparently discovers that the other suitcases are somehow unusable. I don't know what exactly was wrong. At that point, I had already gone to bed because I had to wake up at 6 a.m. for work. I'm a light sleeper and have trouble falling asleep, so it takes me a while to drift off. Just as I'm finally almost asleep, I hear someone in my room and a flashlight shining in my face. It's my brother. I sleep with earplugs, so I couldn't fully hear him, but I picked up something like, "Can I use your suitcase?" I was shocked and angry. I had already said no days ago. I told him to leave because I needed to sleep. He stayed and kept asking. I ended up yelling and swearing at him, told him to get out, and said I'd wake him up early too, which I didn't mean. I was just furious. My mom came upstairs too because of the noise, and I shouted for everyone to leave me alone. My dad was probably woken up as well. He has to get up at 4:30 a.m. for work. It took me about an hour to fall back asleep. I felt completely thrown off and frustrated. This morning, my brother texted me, "Okay, sorry I came into your room after 11, but you could have just listened instead of yelling and being dramatic so late." You upset Mom again. You could have just given me the suitcase and I'd have paid you for a new one, but you already had it in your head that you never share anything. I'll drop it. But if you slam any doors or make loud noises in the morning, I'll take your suitcase anyway after you leave. So your choice. I was stunned. To me, this felt manipulative and borderline threatening. He completely ignored that I had already said no, that I was asleep, and that I needed to get up early. Instead, he called me dramatic, blamed me for upsetting our mom, and said he'd take my suitcase anyway if I dared to make morning noise. I sent him a message explaining my side, that he had ignored my boundaries, that I was asleep and had to work early, that I had a right to say no. Especially for something expensive. And that how he spoke to me was not okay. I also apologized to my mom and dad this morning for yelling, but I'm still angry about the whole thing. Update. Thanks for all the responses. I've read through a lot of them and they've helped me reflect, even the tough ones. A few things have happened since last night. For those saying I should have taken the suitcase with me to work, I didn't need to. It has a TSA lock on it, so even if my brother had tried to take it, he wouldn't have been able to use it. Later that day, he sent me a casual message as if nothing had happened. I didn't fully engage, but I did respond politely and wished him a safe flight. He's still my little brother, after all. He ended up taking one of the other suitcases. Turns out, there was nothing actually wrong with them. One had a broken inner zipper, which doesn't really matter, and the other he said looked too bulky and had scratches, which is pretty normal for luggage. My mom told me this. He probably freaked out at the sight of the broken zipper and ran to my room. Apparently, he later admitted to her that how he handled the situation wasn't smart. So it seems like at least on some level, he realizes it. We haven't talked more about it and I'm okay with leaving it there for now. I said what I needed to say, and I feel like I stood up for myself in a way I can live with. Thanks again for helping me work through it. And no, I didn't slam any doors. Stories number 35. AIO for snapping after years of being my husband's unpaid maid mom. Been married 3 years. I make 70% of our household income but somehow do 90% of everything else too. I work full-time, handle all the cooking, most cleaning, all appointment scheduling, and planning literally everything from date nights to vacations. Meanwhile, husband plays video games for 4+ hours daily. When I ask for help, he says he's tired from work, he works fewer hours than me, or claims he doesn't know how to do basic adult tasks. Last night I snapped after coming home to a sink full of dishes, the one chore he's responsible for, while he was gaming. Told him I need an actual partner, not another dependent. He called me controlling and said I'm emasculating him. I'm not asking for much, just basic adult participation in our shared life. His mom even took his side, saying I should appreciate having a husband at all. WTF. My mom says I deserve better, my sisters say this is just how men are and I should be grateful he doesn't cheat. Am I crazy for wanting an equal partnership? Stories number 36. My daughter just told me she calls another man dad and it shattered me. My ex-wife and I split when our daughter was 5. She's 11 now. I've been there every other weekend, every holiday I could get, sending child support and extras. She's always been quiet, but this weekend when I picked her up, she asked me, is it okay if I call Josh dad too? Because I already do. Josh is her mom's fiancé. I tried to smile and say, of course, if that makes you happy, because I didn't want her to feel bad, but my chest still hurts. I sat in my car after dropping her off and cried. I know it's not her fault, and maybe it's just easier for her to call him that since he's there every day. But it feels like someone just erased me. I don't even know how to tell her it hurt. I probably never will. Stories number 37. AITA for refusing to give up my window seat to a man because he has broad shoulders and needs space. I, 25F, was flying home after a long work trip. Exhausted. Paid extra for a window seat because I like leaning on the side to sleep. I bored, sit down, put my headphones on. Then this guy, 30 SM. Gym bro vibes, full Under Armour outfit, walks up and stands over me like I should just know to move. He goes, hey, I think it'd be fair if I take the window. I've got broad shoulders and aisles a tight squeeze. I just blinked at him. Told him I paid for this seat. He rolls his eyes and says, okay, but I'm clearly built different, I'm not trying to be crammed the whole flight. I said, so am I supposed to give up my comfort because you decided to be wider than average? He scoffed and muttered something like selfish. I told him if he needed more space, he should have booked first class or 2 seats. He eventually sat down in the middle, arms spilling into my side, and spent the entire flight sighing dramatically, occasionally bumping me with his elbow, and once said, this is why it's hard to be a man these days. When I told my friends, some of them said I should have just swapped, that it wasn't worth the drama. But I'm sorry, why are women always expected to be accommodating? To shrink ourselves. If the roles were reversed, no one would question it. Aita for not giving up my seat to Mr. Protein Shake and entitlement. Or am I just tired of being told to make space for men, literally? Stories number 38. Coworker thinks I should cover all her shifts because I'm single. This is driving me absolutely insane. I work at a restaurant and there's this girl Sarah, 23F, who constantly asks me to cover her shifts. I'm 26M and apparently being single means I have no life. At first it was occasional, she had a date, family thing, whatever. But now it's literally every week. Last Friday she texted me at 6 a.m. asking if I could work her double because she wanted to go to her boyfriend's cousin's birthday party. When I said no she replied, come on, you don't have anything else to do anyway. Yesterday was the final straw. She scheduled a shift trade with me without asking, then told our manager that I agreed to it. When I confronted her she said I figured you'd be fine with it since you don't have a girlfriend or kids to worry about. The audacity. Just because I'm single doesn't mean I don't have plans, hobbies, or a life outside work. I have friends, family, things I want to do on my days off. Our manager seems to think this is just normal workplace stuff, but I'm getting really tired of being treated like my time doesn't matter. Stories number 39. I think I don't want to marry my BF anymore, vent. Not that he, 28M, wanted to marry me, 28F, anyway, he stated marriage is like a noose around the neck. I was absolutely in love with this man, we have such a beautiful child together. I wanted to marry him because I wanted to show my absolute commitment. Commitment I thought he reciprocated, but over time I just see that I was delusional. After our child was born I saw he following a lot of thirst trap girls on TikTok. I told him how much it hurt me, especially when my body doesn't look great anymore after pregnancy. My self-esteem was at a low point, mostly hormones, but seeing that didn't help. I asked him to unfollow them and don't engage with that content. Every time I built my confidence up and accepted my new body I would see him following more girls. I would remind him, he would unfollow and I had to start building my confidence up again. For a while it seemed good, until he had to use my phone for work since his broke. I offered him my phone since he drives for work and I wanted him to have a way to communicate in an emergency. Months later I logged back into my private TikTok. The likes and follows. Hundreds of girls. He was logged into my private account on his phone, knowing I was checking in on his account from my end. I confronted him, told him with the lengths he went to try and hide this, him doing it over and over knowing it hurt me, I consider it cheating and I won't tolerate it again. He agreed, promised not to do it again and we moved on. Things were looking up for a bit, I'm losing a lot of that baby weight, I had time to work on my appearance again. Things were feeling a bit more normal again. Reader, I'm sure at this point you're screaming at me, run, it's gonna happen again, and you would be right. I found his Twitter in my recommended, he told me he didn't have Twitter when I asked. He was following and liking again, but now I saw him commenting. I had it, I told him and he just said I don't get it, I just see it as porn, and after a back and forth I told him I don't want to be with him anymore. The only reason why I'm staying is I will be damned if I don't get to see my son every day, and he doesn't get to see his father every day. Now we are back in the growth phase, but damn it's been weighing on me every day. Moments where I feel happy and confident, I just remember these women and how I look nothing like them. Moments where I look at him lovingly, happy with our growth, it's tainted thinking what new way is he hiding his addiction to these women. Him calling me pretty or beautiful feels like a lie. Moments where we are playing with our son wondering if it'll be that last time we do that. Seeing my BF on his phone, fixated to the point where he can't even hear me talking to him, wondering if his attention is on another woman. I'm grieving the me that didn't know any of this, I wish I was still oblivious. I wish I could just forget all of it, still blissfully in love with him and our little family. I wish I no longer agreed with him when he said marriage would be like a noose around my neck. TLDR, I'm a fucking idiot who still loves a man who hurt her numerous times but is still fighting to keep our young family together and clinging to hope that maybe I'll want it all with him again and he wouldn't want it all with me. Just a vent, but advice is always appreciated. Update. Everyone was right. It would just continue to happen. Constantly. Over and over. Until I reached a point where when I saw it again I just felt numb. I started giving love to myself, focusing on exercising, diet, creating art, spending time with my son. Eventually I decided I couldn't be with him anymore and I left. Get this, our son is almost 3 and when he was begging for me back he said I'm sorry, it's just hitting my that we have a son fucking what? Anyway. I have 100% custody and thriving. I wish I took y'all's advice way sooner, I was so naive in thinking he could change. Here's to loving life. Stories number 40. Aita for refusing to co-sign a loan for my best friend of 10 years, even though she swore she'd pay it back, and then getting blocked on everything when I said no. I, 31F, have been best friends with Kayla, 32F, since our early 20s. We met in college and just instantly clicked. We'd been through everything together: breakups, job changes, family stuff, and she was even the maid of honor at my wedding last year. I genuinely saw her as chosen family. A few weeks ago, she approached me with what she called a huge opportunity. She's been wanting to start her own business, something beauty-related, and said she needed a loan for startup costs. The bank approved her for $15,000, but only with a cosigner. She asked me to do it. I was surprised, and honestly kind of uncomfortable. I've worked really hard over the past few years to clean up my credit after some medical debt and poor financial decisions in my early 20s. I'm finally in a good place and just got approved for a mortgage. Co-signing anything right now would be a major risk, especially for that amount. I didn't immediately say no. I told her I needed to think about it. I talked it through with my husband, ran the numbers, and in the end, I told her I couldn't do it. I explained that it wasn't personal, that I just couldn't put my credit on the line for anyone right now. I offered to help her in other ways, help with branding, I do graphic design, social media, and even said I'd be willing to give her a few $100s just as support. I thought I was being fair and respectful. She didn't see it that way. She basically flipped the script and said I clearly didn't believe in her, that if the roles were reversed, she'd do it without hesitation, and that I was just being selfish. I tried to explain it wasn't about trust or friendship, it was just a financial boundary. But she wasn't hearing it. 2 days later, I noticed I was blocked on everything. Texts, Instagram, Facebook. Even Venmo. Just completely cut off, like I never existed. No call, no I'm hurt, no discussion. Just, gone. It hit me hard. I've spent 10 years being there for this woman, helping her move, picking her up after messy breakups, even lending her money in the past, which I never saw again, by the way. But apparently saying no once makes me heartless. My sister says I did the right thing and that Kayla is showing her true colors. But part of me still feels really guilty. Like maybe I should have trusted her. Maybe this was her big break and I stood in the way. I just didn't want to put my financial future at risk. Aita for refusing to co-sign and potentially ruining our friendship. Stories number 41. To fool for allowing HR to hire a guy I dated once. Now he's my boss and he's hanging it over me like I missed out. For context, I am not good at remembering faces. Especially the faces of people I only went on a date with once. Early in my college career, me and my current boyfriend had a rough patch and were broken up. After a few months of going through the 5 stages of grief with my friends, they advised me to do what any lonely and sad girl would do, go on Tinder. I do just that, and after a string of mixed experiences, I matched with my future boss. He was an odd, nervous fellow, mostly the type to ask a string of questions and not add much else. Apparently we had some classes together, hence why he was excited to match with me. But I didn't really vibe with him. So after the date, I politely told him that I wasn't entirely interested. He pushed on asking why, and I said I was gonna put a hold on dating for now and focus on myself. At least that was my original plan. Life happens, and my boyfriend and I reconcile like a week after that last date in a very romantic way. He starts walking me to class again, and then suddenly I get a very long and bitter text from my last date. I didn't spend too much time reading and promptly deleted the text and blocked him. Fast forward to the present, the last boss at my company quit. I was offered his position, but I wasn't quite ready for it. So they put out the position to the wider job market. And wouldn't you know, my date from years ago applies. He seemed good on paper, having all the credentials and personality to fit the company culture. But then I fucked up. He told me that we knew each other. I should have probably looked deeper into that statement before moving forward with him. But honestly, I just wanted to have the managerial responsibilities off my back. Unfortunately, I only remember when I found his cell number was on my block list. And now, with him as my boss, he's making my work life unbearable. He dismisses every advice or statement I make. He gives me impossible deadlines, and recently at our 4th of July party, he had the gall to imply that I missed out for picking the wrong guy to date. Bro, the only mistake I made was giving you the time of day in the first place. Don't worry, I'll get HR on your ass soon enough. TLDR, went on a date with a nerdy guy in college while I was sad from a breakup. I let him down by telling that I was gonna work on myself. Life happens and I get back together with my boyfriend. The nerdy guy sends a bitter text. I forget about him and I unwillingly allow my company to hire him as my boss. Now he's being an unbearable boss and I have to tell HR to find a new guy. Stories number 42. Aita for moving out after my sister's boyfriend joked about killing my partner. I, 21F, have been with my boyfriend Leo, 27M, for 3 years. My sister Sophie, 22F, has been dating Jake, 27M, for about 3 months. Due to financial stress, Sophie and I were both moving back in with our parents. Leo was coming with me, but Jake wasn't supposed to move in, just help Sophie pack and move her things. The night before the move, Leo had just finished a late shift, around 1 to 2 a.m., and was packing. I had reminded Sophie multiple times to leave out the packing tape since Leo would need it and didn't want to disturb anyone. She forgot. Leo knocked on Sophie's door at about 1 in the morning to ask for the tape. No answer. He knocked again, a bit louder. Suddenly, Jake stormed out, screaming and threatening to fucking snap Leo's neck. Leo didn't respond with aggression, he just stood there trying to de-escalate and protect me if things got worse while Jake continued spitting out threats to my partner. I was terrified and told Jake I would call the cops if he didn't back off. Later, Sophie blew up at me, texting that she'd rather be homeless than live in a house with Leo and accusing me of defending the wrong person. I was stunned. Jake got drunk and violent, and Leo stayed calm. For context, Sophie and Jake had been getting completely out of it most nights, mixing psychedelics and alcohol to the point of being practically non-functional. It wasn't just a party night here and there, this is their norm. So, when Jake flew off the handle that night, it didn't feel like a one-off to me. Leo even apologized, over text, for packing so late and said he didn't want bad blood. No response from them. The next morning, Jake and Sophie were openly laughing and talking in detail about how if Sophie hadn't held Jake back, Leo would be dead. They treated it like a joke. During the move, Leo politely asked Jake to apologize for scaring me. Jake refused, claiming he did nothing wrong. He eventually gave a sarcastic sorry and left before I could respond. When I talked to my parents, they dismissed it, saying drunk threats don't mean anything and that I was overreacting. But, my parents would often invite unstable people into our house, sometimes high or worse, and, being the youngest and smallest, was almost always the one that was ignored, beat up, or even molested because my parents didn't listen to signs of what they wanted to do to me. Staying silent about red flags feels wrong. I was told Jake would still be around constantly, even if not officially living there, since he's my sister's boyfriend. I had a panic attack and excused myself to leave so I could calm down and complete the move. Sophie did move in, and now my parents are fine with Jake being there all the time, sleeping over there every night, even when Sophie isn't home. He's not living there, but stays as long as he wants. So, Leo and I have now moved in with his family instead. Additional context, Jake supposedly fully owns a house, free and clear that Sophie has never seen because there's no furniture yet, and just recently stopped being homeless as a result of his purchase. I find this hard to believe since I don't know how he bought a house before even buying a car here in the US. He has also been unemployed for the past 2 months and spent every last cent on that house, so I have no idea how he's been affording other amenities. In addition, he keeps claiming he served in the military, but won't say which branch or where he went on tour. He's about my size and I'm underweight, so it's hard to believe, but I already know so little about the military, so it feels wrong to outright accuse him of lying. So, Aita for taking threats seriously. Firstly, I decided to reach out to some long-distance family members, my aunt, and my brother. My aunt has talked to my mother over the phone every day for 21 years, 3 times a day. I called my aunt and she was strongly supporting me. She said that, after I left that day, my mom had called her first. Despite this, and listening to Sophie's side of the story, my aunt was furious, asking what the fuck is wrong with you? Attempting to challenge Jake's status as a homeowner, a veteran, and now apparently a college graduate. He was supposedly honorably discharged in the army, and my mother got too heated to answer any more interrogation questions, even going so far as finding holes in their version of the story, lying about Leo bursting into the bedroom, while they were naked and sleeping, screaming for the tape. Apparently, they had claimed earlier in the conversation that they heard my phone calls and Leo quietly knocking and hoped we would realize they would want to be left alone. In retaliation for my aunt disagreeing with her and upsetting Sophie, my mother threatened to destroy the business they have co-run successfully for decades, telling my aunt she would fire the entire staff. That my aunt needs to tell me I owe my mother and Jake an apology. My aunt responded by saying she has never threatened my mom like that and would not be contacting her, until my mom decides to apologize to me. As for my brother, I sent him a text message briefly explaining what happened. He immediately decided to call our mother and tell them that was unhinged and unacceptable. Sophie gave him presumably the same flourished details as my aunt and he cross-examined us with some questions, before coming to the conclusion that he couldn't known what had happened, but, if what I had said were true, that leaving was the right decision. And when Leo went back for our things, I stayed in the car, with the windows cracked in case anything escalated. My father walked out and said, "Hey, I'm sorry about how this worked out and nobody was gonna fight, but we're not gonna kiss OP's ass." He went inside after that. I heard my mother start shouting at Leo, but not about him. She said she was sorry at first, before professing that she tried so hard to make the move work. That there wasn't going to be a fight. She ranted about how I ripped apart the family and ruined her relationship with her sister. She said I was a backstabber, and warned Leo that I burn everyone and that I would betray him too one day. That I'll die alone because of this, and that he's the only person I haven't hurt in that way. I saw Leo bursting a blood vessel in his brain trying to hold back from responding. I requested him to, and he just kept repeating that she should talk to me about these things. She rushed up to Leo as he was leaving to demand that I ask my aunt to keep talking to her and fix things between them. Lastly, she told Leo the first was welcome back anytime. After getting into the car, Leo mentioned that my mom seemed off, and my parents, sister, or Jake have still not contacted me directly. TW, RPE and murder. This experience deeply hurt me, so I called my aunt again. We somehow got on the topic of my other sister who my mom told me passed from a drug overdose years ago. My mom said it was my late sister's fault, repeatedly. That she made poor decisions and was irresponsible. I didn't question it, because my sister had struggled with drugs. But, then my aunt corrected me. After my sister's autopsy, they found nothing in her system but a smoothie and date rape drug laced with fentanyl. It was determined it was murder, and a man was imprisoned after a confession. My mom knew all of this, and my aunt thought she told me the truth. I know this isn't related to the original Aita, but I'm so emotionally floored to ignore such a fucked lie at the moment. Her real name was Carly. She was my sister, and she struggled with drug abuse for a long time. She did my makeup and kissed my scars, telling me to stay strong and to not let anyone hurt me, even myself. She loved watching The Bachelorette and was always so photogenic, so bright, no matter the candid. She hoped to be a dentist one day. My parents failed in supporting her in so many different ways I don't even know if should expound, and she ended up estranged and homeless. However, after completely relocating, she was able to find a home with a sugar daddy situation and a job for about 6 months. And Carly was planning on going to work that morning, sober, something she wasn't always able to accomplish. Continuing to build up her life. And my mother's lie made everyone in my family believe that she stopped trying. My sister's name was Carly and she was putting in effort to make things better. And that was taken away by no goddamn fault of hers. I want people to know her name, who she was, and how hard she fought. What is disturbing me about this? We do not share fathers, as hers, my mother's late husband, died from medical malpractice, and was getting some sort of regular payout that I was never given full details for other than it being yearly salary significant. This was given to my mother, my brother, full blood to the late husband, and Carly. She had no beneficiaries, so my mother has now inherited her payout. It makes me consider if it's why my mother handled her addiction so abysmally, and, regardless, pisses me off that she is being rewarded for it. I have no clue how, or if I should tell my brother and Sophie. My sense of humor wanted to title this update Wibta if I didn't tell my siblings if our mom covered up our sister's fucking murder. I just think it's really contributing to my decision of not going back. TW over. Leo, his family, and my aunt have been absolute angels to me throughout this entire situation. Leo basically moved all of my things while I spoke to my aunt and processed what I learned, and his family cooked me dinner. The conversations with my aunt have been intense, but when unrelated to this situation, have been so uplifting, funny, and pleasant. Leo is an author and incredible with words, and is still almost at a loss. They keep hoping they're doing enough for me, but I'm attempting to reassure them that a place to live is far enough. And yes, I am seeking therapy, and thank you all for your support. Your kind words, reassurance, and advice have done wonders these past few days that I hold so much gratitude for. Stories number 43. Aita for rushing my friend to finish her food. I, 22M, went to a Japanese restaurant with my friend, 21F. She ordered a small bowl of miso soup and a beer. I ordered the same, with an additional cocktail. I finished my order within 20 to 35 minutes. My friend, on the other hand, was still eating her food. I decided to wait. After a while, I commented that she should not force herself to finish the food if she can't. She replied that she's not forcing herself and that she is just waiting for the food to go down, and that it will be easier since it's only liquid food and not solid food. We argued for a bit more and then moved on from the subject. The waiter came by with the bill, and she is still eating. After a while, she decided not to finish the miso soup and commented how the carbonation from the beer was making her stomach tight. I then responded by repeating her words of only needing to wait for the liquid to go down. We left when the restaurant was about to close down. She still didn't finish her food. This wasn't a big deal, but there was a little bit of tension at the time. Am I the asshole? Stories number 44. Ida for asking my roommate to not buy tomatoes when my boyfriend is with us. I am 23, currently live with my roommate Sarah, F24. I also have a boyfriend Justin, 25M, who lives in other city. For this reason, it usually looks like this. Justin comes once every 2 months and spends 2 weeks with us. When he's here he always tries to help us, he also contributes to the bills and spends most of the day in my room. That said, he has a terrible allergy to tomatoes. I once made him dinner in the same pan I'd previously put tomatoes in. It quickly ended with reddening of his skin and vomiting. I panicked a bit at that point, and we ended up in the hospital. Fortunately, he was fine the next day. So, before he arrives, I always get rid of the tomatoes in the fridge, my own, I don't throw away Sarah's stuff without asking, and clean the entire kitchen. So far there have been no problems with this. But the last 2 visits ended with some problems. On the first, Sarah bought some tomatoes the day before and didn't have time to eat them, and on the second, she bought them while Justin was visiting. Soon, 2 days, he is coming to visit me again, so I decided to remind Sarah not to buy tomatoes. Again, she'd never had a problem with this before, and I didn't even have to ask her. When she found out about the allergy, she became more sensitive herself. So I didn't assume any malice, she simply has her own life, so maybe she's forgotten. But as soon as I mentioned it, she became a little grumpy. In fact, she kept saying yeah in a dismissive tone and then left the room and locked herself in the bathroom. Then she left and still not came back, so we haven't talked yet. I'll also say right away that she also has a boyfriend and that her boyfriend comes to visit us much more often, so no, it's not like my partner is the only one here. And no, we didn't have any arguments either, and as far as I know, she and Justin didn't argue about anything either. The apartment we currently live in belongs to my uncle and Sarah, and I met shortly after high school. Stories number 45. Aita for not making time for something when I had made time for it once and was left waiting for over an hour. I, 33M, live in a full rental suite in my mother's basement. I have been living here for a couple years. Yes, I knew this was a bad idea before moving in. Yesterday my mother asked me if I could water her plants while she is away for a last-minute trip this weekend. I have done this in the past, and just as I did in those instances I happily said not a problem. I was informed she would be leaving work at 2 p.m. and would like to show me what needs to be done, roughly 20-minute commute, so I was outside waiting by 2:10 p.m. At 3:20 p.m. I messaged her saying I am going back inside. If she wants to leave me written instructions I will do my best to follow them. At 4:15 p.m. she messaged me and said sorry work got busy. She arrived home at 4:40 p.m. At 5:40 p.m., 20 minutes before I begin my remote job, she came downstairs and apologized again. I said not a problem, life happens. She then asked me if I had time to come walk the yard with her. I said unfortunately I no longer have time today as I was in the middle of making a smoothie and getting signed and set up for work. She then became extremely upset, yelling at me saying I am disrespectful and that this is my 30 days notice to be no longer living here. I understand that I have legal protections and cannot be evicted over this, but to make things simple I am moving out and probably going no contact. I just wanna know, Aita here. Stories number 46. I ruined my prostate by trying to develop hyperspermia. So I basically ruined my junk because I was trying to have those monster loads. For about 10 years I got really into the idea of hyperspermia. Like, I wanted those huge loads you see in weird porn gifs or on those shady forums where dudes claim they're filling up pint glasses. So I started obsessively taking semen pills. Every morning, every afternoon, didn't miss a single dose. I had this rotation of like 12 different supplements. Pygium, zinc, lecithin, maca, tongkat, whatever else some dude on Reddit said would make you come like a horse. And I'd spend hours at night edging. Just constantly getting as close as possible because again some dude bro told me it would stretch out your seminal vesicles. Eventually it got to the point where I was edging all night and then the next day I'd just randomly leak out an entire load. Not even turned on or anything. Would just be so backed up that my body decided to just force the old come out. Embarrassing as fuck. Then the pain started. First it was just a weird pressure in my pelvis. Then came this sharp, burning feeling when I'd sit too long. Coming started to feel less like a release and more like passing a kidney stone. Went to a urologist and was told I had prostatitis, inflamed seminal vesicles, pelvic tension. I basically fucked my whole shit up. Oh, but you know what the cruelest irony is? It actually fucking worked. Isn't that great? I shoot massive loads now. Like 20 milliliters or more on average. I would be so happy if it wasn't for the constant bit I don't even enjoy it anymore. My prostate feels like it's constantly sore. The vesicles burn sometimes. There's this dull ache just always sitting in the background, just a reminder that I had to be a gooning perv. So yeah. Learn from my dumbass. Bigger loads sound cool until you're constantly in discomfort and every time you piss it feels like your tubes are backed up and burning. Stories number 47. How do I waste money quickly? I am 22, and I just learned last week that I have a terminal brain tumor that has unfortunately grown so much that nothing can be done for me anymore. The doctor gave me 9 months at most to live. So here's my question. The past 3 years I have been saving up to go to college next year, but since that won't be happening, I want to spend all the money before I die. I have a little over $24,000 saved up. I initially thought about leaving it to my siblings, but I remember that I have never actually enjoyed my life. I don't go out, I don't do substances, I hardly buy nice clothes, I have never smoked or touched alcohol, so just give me expensive recommendations to spend this money. I know it's not a lot of money, but I just want to give myself a parting gift. Thanks in advance everyone. Edit, thank you everyone for your recommendations. I live in Europe. I use dollar currency because I know most Reddit users live in the US. I've traveled around here a lot. I've been to all the Balkan countries, Greece, I go frequently to France and the Netherlands. I've been to Prague, Austria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Kenya, Senegal, Myanmar, Namibia, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Samoa, USA. I've done my fair share of travel. But I have been fainting a lot lately and I'm prone to seizures, not so frequent though, so I'm trying to do something in my comfort zone that doesn't require too much physical energy. I may have also worded this post a bit wrongly. I wasn't really looking for traveling recommendations. I have actually traveled a lot, all the time with family. I wanted to do something for myself, personally, other than traveling. Stories number 48. Why would a guy do this? Brutal answers acceptable. Just looking for men's perspective. I matched with a guy on an app. He messaged me pointing out some things we had in common. It turned out once we got to talking we had even more in common, like, borderline creepy, are we meant for each other level. He jokingly asked me if we should go ahead and elope. We talked every day, with phone calls as well. He was very much driving the bus on the intensity, and told me he was dating with intention, looking for the one, had every intention of seeing things through with me. I didn't imagine how hot he came in on this. We had plans to meet in person and the night before he cancels because something big at work came up. He gave the specifics, and we work in the same field, so I know it was legit, but being purposefully vague here, there is some distance between us that requires a level of time investment to meet in person. His work situation definitely has not changed since then. We have another phone conversation that gets very personal and vulnerable. We text a little the next day. I send him a photo that isn't a nude, but is showing off the tattoos on my ribs, in a sports bra and shorts, which is pretty vulnerable for me, but he'd been asking for bikini pics like one I had in my dating app profile, so I was guessing he wanted to make sure it wasn't an old pic and I wasn't heavier in real life, which I'm not. I work out daily. I don't hear from him for a week, so I decide to just ask what's up. I send a text just asking him to let me know if things had changed for him. He responded almost immediately and said he was sorry, but he had no bandwidth, and it had nothing to do with me. I responded thank you, and never heard from Casper again. Why come on so strong, make all of these representations, then just go silent, and make me chase clarity? I think I'm ruminating because I just can't fathom treating another person that way. Stories number 49. Aita for telling my mom I won't be wearing the family wedding dress because I think it's ugly. So I, 27F, am getting married next spring and I'm really excited about it. The only thing stressing me out right now is the dress, specifically the one my mom wants me to wear. For context, there's a wedding dress in my family that's been passed down since the 80s. My mom wore it, her sister wore it, even my cousin wore it last year. It's become this tradition, but here's the thing. I just don't like it. It's got these huge puffy sleeves, weird lace in random places and this shiny fabric that photographs horribly. It's basically a relic from a 1987 bridal magazine and not in a cute vintage way. My mom keeps saying it's timeless, but no, just no. When I told her I wanted to pick my own dress she got super emotional and said I was breaking the chain and disrespecting family history. She also brought up the fact that it would save me money since weddings are expensive enough, true, but I've already budgeted for my dress separately. Now my aunt and cousin are texting me saying things like it's just a dress, make your mom happy. But to me it's not just a dress. I want to feel good in what I'm wearing on my wedding day, and right now it feels like I'm being guilt-tripped into doing something that would literally make me uncomfortable the entire time. So Aita for saying no to the family dress. Stories number 50. Aita for saying I'm not when a dog owner said their dog was friendly. Sorry if this is formatted weird, I've never posted on here affair. I want to start this off by saying I don't like dogs. I don't hate dogs at all, don't get me wrong, I think they're very cute and I can see why some people like them, but I'm just personally not a fan. I want to emphasize that I don't dislike dogs, I just don't really like them. I'm much more of a cat person. Earlier this morning, I was walking through a park, when this unleashed German Shepherd, I think, came running at me and tried jumping on me. Naturally, I jumped back and screamed. I kept trying to politely push the dog away, backing away, all that, but it was very intent on getting the food I was eating. The owner finally approached, and I was relieved, until he started laughing and encouraging the dog to play with me, saying it was fine because she's friendly, she just wants to play. I tried explaining that I didn't want to play, but the guy just kept emphasizing the dog was friendly, until I snapped and said, well, I'm not, so get your dog away from me. The guy was all huffy and puffy for a while, acting all shocked that someone could ever possibly not want a muddy dog jumping all over them and ruining their favorite shirt. Finally, the guy called the dog back and I went along with my day. About an hour ago, I told my mom about the whole ordeal and she said I was unnecessarily rude and could have just walked away, which is something I have a hard time doing. I tend to freeze when my fight or flight is triggered. So Ida for telling a guy I'm not friendly to dogs.